Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must know.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to Kill the Cast. My name is Jerry, and joining us tonight for the last shot at the end of the bar is none other than JP Shot of 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror, Netflix and Chill. Hold up, let me fucking look through this list again. A Vestron video podcast for the disabled. He also does Married with Children podcast. There's another Netflix and Chill podcast coming out where he actually does it with a stuffed dog. That's going to be really cool. And did I cover them all, or do you have 7 other ones?
Well, I've had other ones. There was one called A Double Shot of Horror that's now defunct. There was one where I did something similar along the lines that we do with Married with Children, where I did that with the X-Files, except it was not as well produced and kind of like by the seam of our pants, whatever that's saying.
I
is.
actually saw that in my feed.
Yeah, that's defunct too.
Yeah, I actually saw that in my feed and was kind of like, you know what? I kind of want to listen to that because I fucking love X-Files. So
yeah, it was a plan that we had, and we just couldn't do it. We just stopped.
Yeah. So that's JP. He also has a YouTube channel, which is Double Shot J.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
It is.
Where did you start when it comes to doing this horror entertainment? Was it YouTube first? Were you making YouTube videos?
Okay, so the first thing that I do want to say is it is not actually JP Shot. That is Facebook being lame, because what it was my name is JP. That's not my real name, obviously. It's my first initial and my last initial. But Facebook has a weird thing where they won't let you not have a last name, so I made my last name JP22 Shots. And then some douchebag in the Scream Factory Facebook page flagged me a bunch of times, and they made me change my name, and like I couldn't put 22 anymore, so I just put JP Shot, and it sounds stupid. Go into your actual question.
I was actually going to say, at some point, I do want to know how y'all named 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror. Because I was like, okay, well, JP's Shot, and Moodz is Moodz. Jeremy's not mentioned all, which is how it should be. And then there's 22 for some reason. And it sounds like I'm going to take 22 shots to get into the mood for horror.
Yeah, okay, so I'll answer both of those questions. Okay. So the first question was, how did I get into horror entertainment? It was through YouTube. Basically, if you want to go way back, I was had a lot of free time on my hands. I didn't have a job. I actually lived alone, but I didn't have a job. Don't ask me how that happened. But I was like really depressed and like bored and, you know, all this stuff because I was like, you know, didn't have a license, didn't have a job. I was like struggling, you know, fresh out of high school. I just was a slacker, all that stuff. And funny thing was I started collecting retro games, and I got really into it until I realized they're really expensive. And during this time, I also had DVD by mail from Netflix. So I remembered that I loved horror films, which I've always had ever since I was a little kid. And I started getting all these horror films that I'd never seen, like through the mail, like Night of the Demons, different stuff. And I started watching these and collecting my retro games. I would do like odd jobs and stuff to buy, you know, like Sega games and Sega CDs and different things like that. And it got really expensive, and I was like, I kind of got out of it a little bit, and I found YouTube by finding, you know, retro game collectors. I found that there were horror collectors and horror reviewers and horror enthusiasts and all these different things, and I was like, I couldn't believe it, because my whole life I was the person that was obsessed with horror. I knew nobody else. I did not know a single person who liked horror like me, and I didn't even think that there were people like that. And then I find out that there's this giant community, and I never even knew there was a horror convention. And I've seen people on YouTube talk about it, and I'm like, I started getting back into it, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. There's all these people that are more obsessed with it than me. They're mentioning giallos. I never heard of a giallo. They're mentioning all Lucio Fulci and Dario Argento and all these people who I never heard of, and they'd seen hundreds of films I never heard of, thousands. And I was like, this is so cool. This is so cool. So I started just watching these videos, never commented, watched them for like 2 years, subbed to all these people, watched all their horror content all the time. Finally got ballsy enough to make a YouTube video, sucked really bad at it for a very long time. Do not look at my old videos. They're absolutely atrocious. They will make you cringe. And then, I started making videos. I started getting a little bit better. And, around 2013, I started getting a good bit better, and now I'm way better than I was. Like, I crush it now compared to what I used to be like. I couldn't even talk back then. I was so shy. And then I met Moodz. I met him when I first started my YouTube channel, and essentially what had happened was there was another YouTube channel called The Fright Tube, and it was hosted by this guy named Tim, and it was like, every day of the week, somebody would do a review, post a review. And just so happens that this one dude, Tattooed Doorman, who was in it, kind of saw one of my videos and just subbed me and asked me, since I was a fresh face on YouTube, to do it with him. And then I had just met Moodz from like what these things were called back in the day, called video responses, where you can make a response to another video and it would be linked to it. They don't have those anymore.
I miss those so
there
much.
Were these things called weren't they awesome? They were awesome.
Oh, they were so great.
And I met Moodz through these video responses, and we just started chatting in PMs on YouTube. And we needed a guy for Sunday, and I reached out to Moodz. I was like, hey, I just joined this thing. You should join it too, or whatever. And so we did. Long story short, that went on for a while. The leader of it was like a Nazi, like crazy, like Hitler type dude, like he was like trying to run it. So we, like 6 out of the 7 of us left. There was actually 9 of us because we had 2 filling guys. So 6 out of the 9 left, created body bags, started doing that with this guy named Clive. We brought him in, and Clive Craven, he's a rapper. Check him out. Like, he's his own record label and stuff. He's a pretty cool dude. And he started a podcast called The Burial Grounds. And Burial Grounds was a video live stream show on YouTube. They're still up on YouTube, and in fact, you can see, I think, 3 of them on 22shotsofmoodsandhorror.com under other podcasts. And those were like on Google Hangout, like live questions and stuff. And it was me, Moodz, Clive, and Steven Ferrandino, who now is the press agent at Midnight Releasing. Steve was our boy. He was my homie. He was one of the first dudes I met on YouTube. And basically, all 4 of us did this podcast. It was kind of short-lived. Clive kind of got out of it. We were just bringing Jeremy in, who was friends with Moodz. And I didn't know Jeremy, but we started hanging out all the time in, like, Skype chats and things like that. And then after that ended, Jeremy actually was like, hey, he asked Moodz to do a podcast with him, and then Moodz was like, well, we got to get my boy JP because he's good at this shit too, or, he would be perfect for this. So that's when we started. Jeremy actually created 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror, and the name comes from this. Double Shot J is the shot. Moodz is the Moodz 616, his YouTube channel. Jeremy's YouTube channel is NES Ruler 22, so that's where the 22 comes from. And then horror. Boom.
It's kind of funny that Jeremy made it, and he's like, unless you know, like, because when you look at his YouTube channel, I'm just gonna look at it and go, oh, NES Ruler. He had to throw a number on there because fucking everyone has to throw numbers on shit.
Not me.
Not me either. I mean, we're better than that, but still, people like him have to do stuff like that. And so it's just funny that he started it, and yet he is not
crazy,
represented
right?
in the title. Because I 100% thought, in fact, I didn't even know he started it until today when I was listening to the Urban Legend show, because he actually brings it up that he started this shit, and it wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for him. And he's not
in fact,
represented.
he used to host it.
Yeah, he's not even he's not represented in the name at all. I 100% thought that it was you and Moodz who created it, and for some reason y'all took pity on Jeremy and brought him in, or he was just around when y'all first started and where y'all weren't really that good, so everyone sucked, and then you and Moodz got way better. But
yeah, you know what, man? And the name is something else that I've had this thing with forever. First of all, everybody thinks it's Moodz podcast because his name is so prevalent in the title. You don't notice Shot. You know, my name is not Shot. It's JP. You know what I mean? His name is Moodz, so it makes sense that people would think it's his show. People think he edits it. You know, people think he makes the thumbnail, all this stuff, which I actually produce the show primarily. I do the editing, I do the thumbnail, I do the show notes, I send it to Jason Lloyd, I do all that, I record it. Moodz has recently started recording it too. Maybe he'll get in on the editing eventually, but most of the time people think it's his show. I fucking hate the name and always have, because to me it doesn't represent anything. It looks silly. People are like, what the fuck is it? There's a bunch of guys drinking, talking about horror with 22 shots. Like, they don't get it. They don't get it at all. And I understand that. That's why I was so adamant on not naming it that when we were coming up with names. Like, I was looking for the most generic name possible. Like, I wanted to call it like All Original Horror, or like you know, Horror Daily, or like or just something like Horror Film Podcast, or just something basic, because I had the forethought of knowing that would pop up in search engines. The simple horror podcast, you know, that is going to pop up. I wanted to call it like the you know what's funny? I think I wanted to call it the Horrorcast at one point. I'm pretty sure, which is funny because we got our boys, the Horrorcast now, who make a podcast and stuff like that, and they're a good podcast. But I'm pretty sure that was one of the names I wanted to do. Moodz was thinking more along of like, I think one of them was like something like intestines holocaust or something like that.
Holy
you know
shit.
Just some crazy shit he was on, and Jeremy was like, well, I don't know about Holocaust because I am Jewish and stuff.
You know what's funny is, okay, so I had done podcasting before Kill the Cast. I had done podcasting for Retro Gaming. I had done it for I did a Retro Collective podcast. But when me and Jay, when I messaged Jay and was like, hey, let's do a podcast together about horror, because I met Jay through the retro gaming scene. When I started looking up horror podcasts to listen to, start kind of seeing what other people were doing so I could figure out what I liked and what I didn't like to do for my own show.
Mm-hmm.
Your 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror came up. I saw that name and immediately was like, I am not listening to that shit.
See, man,
that looks like it's just a bunch of people getting drunk and do it. Because I also saw like 40 Ounce of Horror and some of the others. And to me, the two podcasts that I first picked to listen to, one was based off a very unique name, and one was based off a very generic name, because I think you have to do one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't listen to either one of them anymore, because I really didn't like it. One was Horror 101, or 101 Horror.
Which was another name that I picked. Yeah. I swear to God. That was another one that I had.
Which was good, but I didn't really care for the format. And then the other one was Say You Love Satan podcast.
I've not heard of that one.
I really like the name. I listened to a couple episodes. There was just too much of them talking about... I didn't know them. So a lot of this inside shit they were talking about, I had no clue. And it wasn't like inside jokes like y'all do or Exploding Heads does. This was literally them talking about going to the mall with this person that they all know. Mm-hmm. I don't know that person. That doesn't mean anything to me. So I was like, this is garbage. And then I found Skeleton Crew. Yeah. And this is when Dave was on it, and I had reached out to Dave because he was very friendly, and I had already been making Kill the Cast at this point. By the time I found Skeleton Crew, we had already done. We dropped the Phantasm episode that we did, literally like a fucking couple of days before I found their first Phantasm episode.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, that works. So it's very interesting that you say all that about your podcast name, because you were the first podcast on Horrorphilia I ever saw the name to. And I thought it was the stupidest name in the world, and was like, it's probably a bunch of drunk people talking about horror, and I don't want to listen to that for my entertainment. Not that I'm against that. If people want to drink and talk about horror that's cool. I'm sure someone out there really loves it. Not for me.
Yeah, and you know what we just settled. That's what it was. We just settled on something that combined all of our names because we couldn't come to terms on anything else. And it definitely hurts us a little bit, but at the same time, like, I'm cool with it now. Like, I can live with it. Like, we've built a successful following. And in fact, when we first launched, we had hundreds of listeners immediately because we had a following on YouTube already. So that was cool. You know, we didn't have to have that grindy, like, to download thing that most people have to deal with when they first start out. And once we got on Horrorphilia, we actually lost our entire subscriber feed from iTunes because we couldn't actually Jason could not find a way to transfer it from Podomatic. A couple months later, found out that there's a way, but we had everybody who was subscribed, we lost. So we had to rebuild. So, but we do good now. We do great. Like we we get anywhere from 500 to 1,000 up to 3,000 views on YouTube alone. You know what I mean? Like we pull decent numbers.
Yeah, I mean, technically,
even with the name.
Technically, I would say y'all are the biggest podcast on the Horrorphilia network, because if you count your Horrorphilia downloads plus your YouTube views,
plus my website, which gets hundreds as well.
Yeah, plus that, I mean, you have, like, that would technically make y'all the most listened to show on the network. But when someone's looking for horror, they're going to find someone called The Skeleton Crew or Exploding Heads way faster, way easier than they are 22 Shots. But luckily, both of those shows would lead them to 22 Shots.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know if this is a question at all, if there's any Married with Children stuff thrown in there or anything, but what's really interesting that I host a podcast with you and Alex is Alex was, I believe, either the first or second podcast I ever heard, but this was back in like 2010, way before Skeleton Crew. He was on a show called Rabbit and Red, and I listened to them from pretty much almost the beginning of when they started, and then when they left Horrorbid for the first time. And then I came around, there was like a year that went by where I didn't even know Alex was podcasting. I don't even think he was. And then they started the Skeleton Crew. I remember the Friday the 13th retrospect, and that's when I found him again. And I was like, holy shit, And so, I mean, it's crazy that it's come full circle like that, because I was just a listener of his for years before he ever even knew me. You know what I mean? And now we host a podcast together.
That's crazy. And what's funny about you doing the Married with Children podcast is when Alex was looking for people to do the podcast, you messaged him saying you wanted to, like, throw in, like, just a voice recording or a clip or something.
Yeah, because he had asked a question where he said, like, if anybody wants to send a reaction to the first episode or something, they can or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I've never seen this show, but I think it'd be cool if you had a perspective from somebody who's not seen it. So I'll send in a clip or whatever. And he took that as, oh, you want to be on the show. You know what I mean?
Dude, I remember when he messaged me and he goes, oh my God, dude, we just got so lucky. We have our third person. And I was like, oh shit, who is it? And he goes, it's JP from 22 Shots. I'm like, shit, really? Fuck, now I've got to be on a podcast with two big people? Like, this is like, because yeah, I think this was January. I was not on Horrorphilia. Kill the Cast was doing very minimal. We were putting stuff out. We were starting to get some notice, but it wasn't huge. And I'm sitting there like, oh shit, I'm going to have host from two of the biggest Horrorphilia shows. And I've got to make sure that I can hold ground with them, that I can play in the same ballpark as these guys.
Dude, you know what too, man? I gotta, I gotta say, man, like, you do a fantastic job. Like, you really do. And I was really impressed. I didn't know anything about you going in. I was like, this guy's good. Like, I got to compete with this guy. You know what I mean? Because you were on point from day one on Married with Children, where it took me a little bit of, time to kind of find my groove on there. And, I still have rocky times on there at times because I'm not as familiar with it, but you do a great job. And what's funny else too, man, is that I love doing this because I've met so many cool people, but like, I would literally consider you a friend. We talk every week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always find it weird when that happens, because I like have my friends on social media, you know, in the horror world, the entertainment world, if you will. And then like a new person will come in out of nowhere, and then I'll be and then I'll become like best friends with them. And it's weird that because you never assume that that's just gonna happen like that, but it does all the time. And I love it for that. That's why I love doing this. Partly.
I completely agree with you. And the only reason I think at the beginning of Married with Children podcast why I was better because the norm was like for Kill the Cast for December, we did a show because I wanted to do a Christmas show, but I didn't want to do anything Christmas related. So I took the idea of Christmas in July and instead did Halloween in December. And we did 90s Halloween special sitcom episode. And we did an episode of Roseanne, Martin, and Married with Children.
I love all those shows.
And literally that came out. Alex heard it. And Alex had wanted to do another show that was not horror related. And he just didn't know what he wanted to do. Then he heard that show that I did and was like, oh, Married with Children. I love Married with Children. I got to do it.
And he does love Married with Children.
Holy shit. Yes, he loves Married with Children. And then as soon as he made the post, I was like, dude, I literally just did this show. And Alex and I had talked at the time. We were cool. But, like, Alex was still like, that's still my favorite host from my favorite podcast kind of thing. Like, we weren't, like, hardcore friends. So I was literally, like, jumping. I was bursting at the seams to be like, dude, let me be on the show. I just did a Married with Children episode. And he's like, yeah, I heard it was really good. I was really actually hoping you would want to be on. And I'm like, oh, fuck yes. And I got to go on. And I got to say, Married with Children is one of the funnest podcasts to do.
It really is.
We have no idea where we're going to go with each episode. I remember we originally thought episodes were going to be 20 to 30 minutes long.
And we did. Yeah, I remember that.
They are an hour long, and there's so much cut out of the show. There is stuff y'all never get to hear that gets cut out. Alex has a talent for picking and choosing what
he's really good. He's probably the best editor that I know for sure.
Yeah. So, but enough about Alex. Fuck that dude. Let's get into you. Okay, one question. I like knowing behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
And one question that I'm sure anyone who's listening who wants to start a podcast wants to know from you, what is your gear breakdown? What are you recording with? What's your microphone programs? What are you editing with? What do you got going on over there?
All right, so I've went back and forth. Like I originally did everything on my PC, but it's just so loud. You know what I mean? And you can probably hear it in the background right now. I'm sorry I didn't shut it off. My mic picks up every damn thing, and I don't know why. I use a Blue Yeti.
Okay, so do
which I bought on what we call season 2 of 22 Shots. So episode 1 through 22 is season 1 because that was when we were recording, weekly or, miss a week every now and then, all the way up until the summer. We started in November of 2013, I think November of 2013, and we ended around like September or something where we did the sleepaway camp films for the summer. And Moodz goes on vacation like every weekend or like goes camping every weekend in the summer. So we took a break from there. And when we came back, we upgraded all our equipment. So I'm using a Blue Yeti. I have Beats headphones. I have just a cheap laptop that I bought specifically to record on and not do pretty much anything else on. And then I use a flash drive to take the files from my laptop over to the PC. I edit on Audacity.
Okay, what program do you use to record the Skype call with?
I used to use a program called Total Skype, and we ran into huge problems with it. And it was called Total Record. No. Sorry. Let me back up. It was called iFree Skype, and it was decent, but it had a record limit. You can only record for like 2.5 hours or something. So literally the first like million episodes of 22 Shots, they would just stop recording all of a sudden. I'd be like, wait, guys, Skype recorder ended. And then we'd have to like reboot and stuff and like patch it in and edit it and stuff. But Alex actually hooked me up with this program called Total Recorder. It's like $20. It's a good program. I highly recommend it. And that's what I record with now.
That's hilarious because guess what I record with? Total Recorder.
Total Recorder.
Guess who recommended it? Alex.
Alex. Yeah.
I was using, I bought Pamela because, okay, so my dumbass originally was recording our Skype using the program Fraps, which is what I use to record my gameplay footage for my retro gaming YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But that means each podcast was recorded as a video file, uncompressed, 40 gigs. Like 2 hours long, 40 fucking gigs, broken up after like time. It probably wasn't 40 gigs. It was probably like 10, 15 gigs each one because it broke down as like 3 videos, and it would break after every like 4 gigs. And I wanted to stop using that. I got Pamela because I would research and everyone said it was good. Pamela's fucking terrible. Do not pay for it. That was a waste of like $35.
There was a time last year, dude, where all of a sudden everybody's Skype recorder stopped working after Skype had a update, and like everybody was scrambling. I knew like 5 or 6 podcasts who lost full episodes. It was crazy. And that's when I reached out to Alex and got this. Also, one thing you didn't ask, I make thumbnails on GIMP. It's a program called GIMP. It is a fantastic free program. It's very, very in-depth. You can do almost anything on it, but it takes a very long time to learn. That's why if you look at my thumbnails from episode, I think I started thumbnails around like 32, they progressively get better, like, and I learn new tricks and stuff. So I if I want to brag a little bit, I think I have some of the best thumbnails in the game at sometimes. And you know, that's all that you can do it too. You just got to teach yourself. YouTube tutorials, stuff like that. You get better with them, and you use the program GIMP. But I think I have some of the better thumbnails. I really do.
I agree. No, I agree. I think on Horrorphilia Network, you are undisputedly have the best thumbnails. There are some Skeleton Crew ones that I really, really like.
Yeah, they do a good job too.
And there's some really good Banana Laser ones. I like the Exploding Head ones because they're simple and clean. But there's not like tons going on there.
Yeah.
As where 22 Shots, it's almost like a piece of art. And actually, because of it's actually more you than Exploding Heads is why I've started making thumbnails that weren't just originally it was just the like whatever the poster for the movie was. And then I would pull like a screenshot from the movie and put font on it and shit like that. And it's because of talking to you is why I've started going and doing that.
Yeah, and you know, I'm by no means an artist. I'm actually terrible at art.
Me too.
But and you know, sometimes, dude, like the thumbnail is what slows down the episode the most. Like I could spend anywhere from an hour to 3 hours on a thumbnail, and usually what it is that takes so long is I can't figure out where to go with it. Like I usually have an idea in my head what I want it to look like, but sometimes I can't get there, or I can't find the right pieces online, you know, because some of them I cut out, some of them I get from places, you know, just Google image searches and stuff like that. And sometimes I just can't piece together what I want it to look like. Like, for example, the very last episode we did, episode 105, which was the Urban Legends trilogy, like I could not think what to do with that thumbnail. So it turned out a little generic, but you know, at a certain point you got to cut your losses and just go with whatever. Yeah,
no, that's 100% true. I don't think I'll ever put that much time into the thumbnail because for the most part it doesn't seem like people
if you have
like
a shitty name, you need something else to catch their eye, and that's I think sometimes the thumbnail, they just see it and they're like, oh, I know what this is. They're not saying 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror. They're saying the Alien trilogy that looks all cool and stuff, and they're like, I want to listen to this.
100%. And it's really good for your YouTube videos. Since there is no video and it's just a picture, you got to have something good to draw them in, because
yeah, right.
It's going to work. So how do you research your movies? What's your approach? I have heard on many different episodes where you've had notes, or where you've even actually been like, I didn't take any notes.
All right, if I'm gonna be, going into this, I didn't know what type of questions you were going to ask me, but I was going to be like, I'm going to just answer everything as honest as possible and not give any bullshit. I would say 95% of the time I do not take notes.
Interesting.
I don't like taking notes. I feel like I can't get into the movie. I feel like I have to have a light on, or I have to pause the movie I'm a sloppy writer. I can't spell for shit, and I also just am take a long time to write things. So I literally, if I don't pause the movie while I write down what I'm thinking, then I miss the next stuff happening because it takes me so long to write. So I literally take notes very few times. Like one time that I didn't take notes, and I think is one of my best, points, is the Hatchet trilogy. I didn't take notes on the Hatchet trilogy. I think I might have on the first film, but really I watched a lot of commentaries and special features for that show, and that's what really helped me. Plus I was a huge fan of those movies when I first got back into horror and stuff. But for the most part, I don't take notes, dude. Like, I don't like doing it. I try. For example, I took notes for Urban Legend 1, didn't even use them, and just went off of memory. So for the most part, it is all memory.
That's really impressive. I have to take notes, but mostly
Thank
because,
God
like,
you guys do. For
yeah.
Married with Children.
Oh, dude, my notes for Married with Children, like, there are so many times where Alex like skips over like entire scenes,
and you're like, wait, we gotta go back.
Yeah, and you've heard me where I'm like, hold on, we gotta go back. We missed this. And sometimes I pick and choose. Sometimes I'll be like, whatever, I'll let this one go. But I have to.
One
take
show
notes.
I took notes for all the films was Children of the Corn. When we did all 8 or 9 of those films, took notes for every one of them.
Jesus Christ, I'm actually really surprised you didn't take notes for the Hatchet movies, because you were on point with your knowledge on that episode. Like, I remember listening to that, just going, "Holy shit, man! How he has some really good notes in front of him," because he is on point. So to hear that that's all the top of your head, you are the Lil Wayne of podcasts. Lil Wayne doesn't write. Lil Wayne.
Yeah, right. Get out of
Only
here.
in the fact that Lil
do not
Wayne
insult me like that.
Okay, hold on. Let me explain this. I'm not saying you're a terrible rapper, but I'm saying the fact that it is impressive to me that Lil Wayne does not write his songs.
Oh, it's impressive to you that Lil Wayne tells you he does not write his songs. Okay, I gotcha.
Okay, okay. I see what you're doing there. I see. I don't know. Sometimes I have a hard time believing he wrote that. What he say? We the F baby, the F is for phenomenal. What motherfucker? Phenomenal starts with a P.
Dude, listen. One time I remember listening to, like, I hated Lil Wayne when he was popular and stuff. Like, I honestly, like, his first, I think the what is Carter 1? I like Carter 1. But I remember hearing a line where he's like, when I was a little kid, my favorite movie was The Gremlins. That ain't got shit to do with this. I just thought that I would mention. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah, like, what
but
the
I always
fuck?
remembered that line forever.
Oh my god, that cracks me up, man. Fucking Jesus. Yeah, so, but I gotta say, it's impressive you don't take notes. I have to take notes because for Kill the Cast, like, I'm the host and I have to direct everyone in the right proper way, like, for it to have a flow. We're not 100 episodes
if I
in.
could give advice to people, take notes. I can't do it, but I think that podcasts are generally better when you take notes. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I have, when we first started, Jay did not take any notes at all, and Kenneth didn't really take notes. And then I made them start taking notes, and I feel Kenneth got fucking crazy better when he took notes.
Yeah, Jeremy and Moodz both take notes.
Yeah.
To let you guys know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
this will be in our feed as well, the 22 Shots feed. So
yeah, it'll be the most downloaded Kill the Cast show ever. They're gonna listen. It's like, oh, okay, JP's here. Who the fuck? Wait, is this the Jerry guy that Jeremy's always talking shit about?
Yeah, he's the new host of 22 Shots.
Yeah, I'm there now.
Jeremy's out.
Yeah, fuck him. Okay. So, is there any movie, this is more of a fun question, is there any movie that you can remember getting legit scared by as a kid?
Yes. There's 2 that jump out of my mind. One, I just talked about, and that was the Zelda scene in Pet Sematary.
Oh God, yes.
That terrified me when I was a kid. But I started watching horror films. Okay, I always explain it like this. When can you start watching things? Like, when is your brain capable to watch things? And, what is it, like 1.5? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know much about babies. Whatever age that was, I started watching horror films. So basically, when you could watch anything, I was already watching horror films. And so literally my entire life, I don't exaggerate there, my entire life I was watching horror films. So I didn't really get scared by a whole lot. Like, my first horror film that I remember watching is when I was like 2, and it was like Friday the 13th Part 7. But at one point in my life when I was 8 years old, one movie scared me more than anything ever. And it was The Blair Witch Project. And to this day, I love that movie. It's one of my favorites ever. And it fucked me up as a kid, man. Like, it really did. Like, because my house was like right next to the woods, and like I lived one state over from Maryland, and I knew this took place in Maryland. So I'm like, what if the witch came here? And I didn't know it was fake. Like, I had the luxury of not knowing for months after I had seen it that it was fake.
Yeah.
So to me, it was real.
I remember,
I was scared as shit.
I remember I thought it was real, but my dad was so pissed off that it wasn't real because he watched that documentary that came out. He saw the movie, and I just remember him looking at us and just being like, "It's as fake as that fucking wrestling you watch." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, shit." Then again,
yeah,
my dad
scared the hell out of me,
like,
man.
My dad was always into like some shit like that. Like, I remember our garage. Anytime my dad's ever had a garage or a basement, it gets turned into a bar. That's just how it's happening. And I'm sitting in there watching a creature feature that I had just rented. I think it was Komodo on VHS. Okay. This motherfucker, my dad, takes a giant butcher knife. He was working on the walls or something, and his closet is right next to where the TV is in the garage. And he just jabs a butcher knife through the wall while I'm sitting there watching Komodo, and I about shit myself. This is...
So Komodo is the scariest movie Jerry has ever seen.
No, actually, because like I have video proof that at the age of 5, my favorite movie in the world was Jaws. I
just watched it in the theater, homie.
Dude, I saw it in the theaters 2 years ago, and it was one of the greatest like moments of my life watching that movie in theaters. I love that.
Awesome.
Movie. It is. Oh, dude, it's so good in theaters.
Oh, it is. The screen's so big and the ocean looks so vast. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I had a good time.
That's going to be JP's next podcast. It's going to be once every couple of months, and it's just going to be him reviewing his experience seeing a horror movie in theaters. But it has to be. It can't be a newer release one. It has to be an old one that he went to go see.
Yeah, been seeing a lot of them, man. A lot of them. Because honestly, like I actually did a spreadsheet just to keep track of them. Just because I'm weird, I'm a stats nerd and stuff like that. And I could actually tell you right now how many like retro movies that are not, new movies that came out that I've been able to catch in the cinema. And the total right now is 24.
That is
24.
That is dope. And you just went and saw the Goonies.
Yeah.
Which is also, man, if I get a chance to go see the Goonies in theaters, hands down, I'm jumping all over that.
If I'm honest, that was my favorite experience so far. I also really enjoyed Phantasm back when I seen that the second time, actually on digital, not 35 millimeter, because I've seen Phantasm twice. I've seen it at a drive-in and a theater, but when they did the remastered last year, seeing that was huge for me. Like, that and Goonies. Those are my two.
Oh, that's great. Reese and I just went and saw The Princess Bride, which had a Q&A with Carrie Elwes afterwards. But it was super short. I was really kind of fucking upset that I paid all this money and he talked for maybe 30 minutes. And like all
gotta do at least an hour.
Yeah, they did. They had this whole thing in the beginning where we were supposed to fill out our questions. And of course, I didn't ask a question from Princess Bride. I asked a horror question because he has been in a few horror movies. But literally, they out of all those fucking questions, they asked 5 questions, and it was like all super softball questions. I was kind of upset, but it was cool. Okay, so what is, and fans of your show might know this, but for those who don't, or if you've said this way back, do you have a like number one favorite horror movie of all time?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Such
To
a good
me,
movie.
it is when you say horror movie, those two words, right? What is a horror movie? I think the greatest definition of that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes, no, I actually completely agree with you. I actually have a question for you. And okay, so at one point I was working on an idea of for a YouTube video, my top 5 favorite exploitation films of all time.
Yes.
Specifically going for horror exploitation, obviously, and not like fucking nun-sploitation or Bruce Lee exploitation or anything like that. And while I was making the list, I was sitting there wondering, does Texas Chainsaw Massacre count as an exploitation movie? Because at the time it was made, it fits all the criteria, but because it's gotten so famous, does it still count as an exploitation film? What is your opinion on that?
I think first you have to define exploitation and what it means to cinema. So you want to get a quick definition of exploitation?
So to me, an exploitation film is a movie that is made very cheaply, and it completely, it doesn't rely heavily on story as much as it relies on a shock value, a in your face thing. It's very raw, it's very aggressive, and it's going to quote unquote exploit things to get people in the seats. It's not going to show you an art trailer. It's going to show you sexy teenage girls, blood, shit like that. This is not, we're not talking The Exorcist here. We're not even talking Friday the 13th, because I don't think Friday the 13th can count as an exploitation film, because Friday the 13th to me is the first time we have what I would call a mainstream exploitation film. And at that point, it's no longer exploitation, it's mainstream. It's something, it wouldn't be shown in a grindhouse.
Yeah. See, that's kind of where I come at it with, like, I kind of lump, like, first of all, there are exploitation films that are purely 100% exploitation. Like, you're looking at, like, Blood Feast and a lot of the blaxploitation films, like Coffee and the ones with Pam Grier, like Foxy Brown, and those are pure exploitation. But one thing that happens with exploitation is a film can become an exploitation film simply because it's a product of its environment. Meaning, if they're being shown on 42nd Street and in these grindhouse theaters and these double feature dollar theaters and things like that, I think they become exploitation. You know what I mean? So I do think Chainsaw is an exploitation film, but I also think it's one to break through. Like, it was birthed as an exploitation film, but it kind of broke through and broke through the mold a little bit and kind of transcended it. But I still think, at its core, it should be considered an exploitation film. Yeah,
see, I struggle with it so much because depending on what slice of exploitation you're looking at, like if I go women in cages exploitation, my favorite is The Big Birdhouse. That one's fantastic. It's got Pam Grier in it, it's got Sid Haig in it. It's a very fun movie, but then there's other exploitations I do not get in. I don't get into Nazi exploitation like the Ilsa films.
What's funny? For the longest time, Ilsa was our number one show that we've ever done.
That's crazy. I got then I started finding out more exploitation films because I started watching the Cinema Snob, like when he put out his 4th video. Like, I was really early on watching him, and so I learned a lot more and started diving into it more. And then, like, my top 5 are mostly very well known ones now. But even within, when I look at, like, because Last House on the Left is on that list for me, and I include it, but when it comes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I almost go, but it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a piece of art now, Yeah, it's
definitely a very, and the water's so muddy because like
'Cause it's
every
in
film
Texas.
can be argued that it's exploiting the audience. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
it's such a specific thing that's kind of indefinable at certain points when you talk exploitation sometimes, you know what I mean? So yeah.
I agree with it. It's a very hard one to go with. So on the favorite movie part, do you have a favorite horror novel?
Let me think. Actually, I'm not a big reader. I grew up reading Goosebumps and like Christopher Pike and stuff like that. But I don't really read. But one year I bought a book, and one story in particular, it's a short story, but it just, I loved it so much. It's actually from Stephen King, and it's called 1922, I believe. And it's actually being made for Netflix right now, which for years I always said that's what I wanted adapted. I could picture it in my head, like if I had a choice to adapt anything, it would be that, you know. Really good story. So I guess it would be that, you know.
I will have to put that on my list. What do you remember? What collection it was
It's
in? Like,
Full Dark, No Stars.
Full Dark, No Stars. Okay, I don't
Yeah,
have
a
that
couple
one.
of the movies have been made. There was I think 5 stories in there. Good Marriage, Big Driver have already seen adaptations, but the biggest story in there is 1922 or 1944 or whatever it was called. That is the biggest story in there, and it's like half the book.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So let's get into some of these questions that the listeners of 22 Shots. I asked this question in the 22 Shots Facebook group for questions, what they want to ask you. So here's one from Sam Edwards. Without a doubt, in your mind, what are your top 5 favorite 1960s to 1980s horror films of all time? And if you don't have a top 5, just give us a couple that you would want people to watch.
A top 5. I could do a top 5.
Okay.
All right. So it's, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 favorite horror film of all time is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3: Dream Warriors. I know you love that answer, Jerry.
You're wrong, but okay.
Return of the Living Dead.
Great.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Fucking in my top 5.
And Day of the Dead. Those are my 5 as of right now. They change. Carrie kind of goes in there sometimes because I love Carrie too. So yeah, those are my top 5 right now. But it always changes. It always changes. I've literally made top 10 lists like most of my YouTube and podcasting career, and it's always different.
Yeah, I will be honest. I love watching top 5, top 10 videos on YouTube. It's one of my favorite things. I don't know what it is about list. I love list. I love
lists too.
And I like making videos.
Listen to Watson's conversation on lists and why we love them. Yes. Which is like episode 2 or 3 of Horror Corridor, when he gives his like top 30 favorite horror films or something like that, because that's a good episode.
Yes, that one is fantastic. And Sam Edwards had a second question. Speaking of Day of the Dead, other than Romero, have you met anyone else famous?
Yeah.
And you cannot say Carly from Netflix and Chill.
I've met Hulk Hogan when I was, these are not horror people, but I met Hulk Hogan when I was a kid.
Okay.
At a McDonald's. I met Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern show and Scary Movie. I think he's in one of the Scary Movies. That little black dude.
Yeah.
I've met that dude who says, "Dude, you're getting Adele." That guy.
Oh my god.
I've met one person from Survivor. Stephanie LaGrossa, I think. She's like one of my favorite players. She's from PA. And then I met 2 people from the real world who I can't remember which ones they were. But yeah, that's it. Besides, I haven't met any horror people besides Romero, to my knowledge.
Fair enough. And he had one more question. If you made your own horror convention, what would you call it? And this is interesting because we just talked about how you feel about names for podcasts and shows. So what would you call your horror convention? That's a tough one, right? Like that's a like, be as creative as possible in 2 seconds. Yeah. Well, question. Okay. Answer the question. Did you not look at the post I made and look at any of these questions?
No.
I am super happy about that because I was like, how can I get questions from people without JP knowing? And I was like, fuck it, I guess he'll be able to have prep time. So bravo for
okay,
doing that.
I got it. Maybe how about Echo Hollow Horror Convention?
Echo Hollow Horror Convention. When you said it,
Echo Hollow. There we go.
When you said Echo Hollow, I didn't like it. When I said it back to you, I liked it. So I'm with it. I will be a guest there. Next question, Christian from Exploding Heads, and this is probably the most important question I'm going to ask you the entire night. I need you to answer this 100% honest, okay?
Uh-huh.
Was it a mistake asking Jeremy back to the show?
No.
Okay, I asked you to be honest and you didn't, so that's fine. Whatever. You don't love your audience, I get it. Okay. Andrew from the Woodsboro Brothers podcast wants to know, how amazing was it to spend time with the Woodsboro Brothers?
It was pretty amazing. I had a blast. I recorded a movie night with them. Still got to edit it. I'm actually got 2 recorded that I still need to edit. So
yeah, I would really like for you to edit those because I really like those a lot.
I'm glad you like those. I kind of spur of the moment idea there.
Well, I think that's a genius idea. I almost wish.
To be fair, Moodz did these type of videos before me, but his were 24-hour marathons. If you've never seen them, Jerry, check them out. They're amazing. But he's done like 3 or 4 of them now. He done, I think, 2 with his wife. He did one where they watched all the Friday the 13th, and he did one where they watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. And then he did another one with his homie Dylan where they watched, I think, like all Italian films. And then I think they did another one where they just watched a bunch of random stuff. And they're fantastic, way better than mine. So much more editing, stuff like that. But to be fair, again, I've seen these before. There used to be a YouTube channel on YouTube called Can You Take It Films or something along those lines. This was like 2010 or 2009. And the whole concept behind the YouTube channel was a bunch of friends got together and they tried to marathon movies. So they did like the Puppet Master franchise and Children of the Corn franchise, and they got like beer and food and pizza and all this stuff, and they just sat down and made videos of them sitting there watching all those movies in a row. But I condensed it and did it into a double feature because I think it's more tolerable.
I agree, it's a good way to get people in the door, but I would say, like, I actually kind of want them to be a little bit longer, be a little bit more in depth. Maybe a mid-movie check-in would be kind of cool. Like, maybe if you just add that. Like, because you have the beginning and you have the end. I kind of wouldn't mind a mid-movie check-in. I know that might kind of suck because you have to pause the movie and interrupt everyone when everyone's all in the movie. So I can understand if you didn't do that, but I think it would be kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll think about doing that for sure. One of the things that it's going to improve as it goes on. One of the things that I wanted to do was make it like, and I kind of did it in the first episode where I was hosting the night. I want it to be like almost like a presentation, like kind of like I'm presenting these movies like this, maybe some statistics and facts and stuff like that. Kind of working on that a little bit, but with the other people hosting, they're not as comfortable in front of the camera and stuff. So it's gonna be a work in progress.
Yeah, because I like that because you did that for Ticks, and I really liked. I actually really did like that.
Yeah. Okay,
so. Next question. And by the way, ahead of time, I'm gonna fuck up y'all's names. Okay? There's nothing on Facebook that allows me to tell them to tell me how to pronounce this shit. So that's how it is. So Adam Claver, I'm not sure. Adam Claver is what I'm going with. Wants to know, when are we getting the witchcraft retrospective? You actually recently addressed this.
Did I?
On a show, because y'all said, well, what if we record like 2 of the movies a month for a couple of months, and then we put out like a big show at the end.
Yeah, I edited them all together. At this point, homie, like, I'm thinking that could be the last thing we do. Like, if we ever decide to end, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit nervous that somebody else will do it before us, because My knowledge says and my research says that no podcast has done it. I've seen YouTubers review them all, but no podcast has reviewed them all. So I'm kind of hesitant on it a little bit. Like, I know it's funny because I know a lot about these movies. Like, not a lot, but I know a good bit about these movies. I know most of them are not horror movies, and most of them are like softcore pornos. But I just think that the joke has been so funny by this point that we're like considering doing it. Technically, It started out as a joke, and now we're actually considering doing it. That I feel like we have to do it at some point. So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
On the point of wanting to, like, okay, I'm in this boat where I have a huge list of ideas for things I want to do for Kill the Cast,
Mm-hmm.
and I tend to choose things that I feel like other people might do, so I need to do that first. I need to do that fast. And I will bring it up to Jay or Kenneth and be like, hey, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. How do you feel about it? And we'll make a group decision. And usually they just agree. But every once in a while, they will tell me, Jerry, that's fucking stupid. And I wish I could remember. There was a Horror Coliseum idea I had that I brought to them. And they were like, Jerry, that's fucking stupid. No. Like, Horror Coliseum is my favorite show we've done just because it was such a fan. I got inspired by a Skeleton Crew show, which I then took kind of the general idea, warped it. And honestly, if you listen to Horror Coliseum and you listen to their Friday versus Halloween episode, they don't sound anything alike. But that is the show that inspired me. And it's my favorite idea, and we're actually doing best 90s thriller 7 versus Silence of the Lambs coming up this month, I believe. Have you ever had an idea and then you went to go see if someone else has done it? Because that's what I do. I check before I pick a name. Before I picked the name Kill the Cast, I check to see if anyone had it.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that with 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror too. I had to make sure nobody else had it.
Really? You had to check and see if anyone fucking had that?
This is a joke.
Oh my god.
Okay, so you're asking me if what was the question?
Have you ever had an idea that you were like, this is genius, and then you just got totally bummed out because you found out someone already did it?
Yes and no. Okay, so like the first thing that I always do is I don't check that often if somebody else has done something like I've done, unless I think that it's something the first, because like the witchcraft show, like I'll look and see if somebody else has done it. But I am not afraid to do something that somebody else has done. Now, if I know that somebody has done something and I decide to do it, I 100% will give credit because that is the right thing to do. However, if I do something that somebody else has done and I didn't know they did it, I don't care because I didn't take it from you. I know that. I don't care if you think otherwise or not. I'm an honest person. I will be honest about it. If I know you did it, then I will give credit. And I truly believe that the subconscious is very powerful. And I've listened to hundreds, if not thousands of podcasts. I've seen so much stuff. I've heard so many people talk about ideas. I don't remember if I heard something or came up with it on my own or what. Sometimes I'll talk about a movie and I'll be listening back in the edit and I'll be like, I think I heard somebody say that before, and then I just said it. You know what I mean? Not word for word or anything, but like along and you know, sometimes I wish I could give that person credit that was their idea that they came up that they might have saw the movie that way, interpreted it that way, and I heard them say it, and then in my own head, I thought that I came up with that myself. It happened with the something that Elm Street 2. For the longest time, I was saying how much I love Elm Street 2. Meanwhile, not realizing that Alex was the one that pointed out all the reasons why I like Elm Street 2, and I heard it before. So I don't really care if somebody's done something or if it's a very specific idea. Yeah, of course I want to make sure that I'm not biting somebody or something like that. But I trust my subconscious to just guide me and you know, to be okay with doing things that other people have done. Because let me tell you something, guys. I've been around the podcast game for a long time. There's not a whole lot of original stuff that hasn't been done before, because I have heard people do shows that aren't even on the internet anymore. right? I've listened to shows that aren't even on the internet anymore. You can't even find back episodes or anything because they're gone. And let me tell you guys, there's a lot of content out there that you guys do not know about. I've been listening to podcasts since 2009, homie. You know what I mean? Like, that's a long time. And I've listened to so many. And I know that, you know, just like we posted about Alien the other month, like, hey, we want to do an Alien show. Oh, everybody does an Alien show. I don't care. I'm doing an Alien show. And you know what? Like, the listeners who listen to us, they know that our shows are different. They know that they're going to hear a different perspective. And what's most important is people don't listen to the podcast for the movies. I say this all the time. Nobody listens to the podcast for the movie you're covering. Maybe you might check out a podcast for the movie they're covering, but nobody stays for the movie they're covering. They stay for the host. So that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you cover because people are there for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I got to say, because Alex gave me, I remember early on when I was talking to Alex, one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me was don't be afraid to do something because someone's already done it. Your audience is here to hear you do it. They haven't heard you take it on. And that's why they're here. And after he said that, I felt way better about that because I was super self-conscious about doing things that other people had done. I was like, no, because this is because I had told him the reason we didn't do a Christmas show for we didn't do a Christmas themed episode in December is because everyone was doing Krampus and all these in Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I didn't want to do that. Everyone else was doing
well, that's another thing too, because that's an oversaturated market. It's the same reason why I hate the end of the year shows. As much as I love them, I hate them because everybody wants to have theirs out first because everybody listens to the first one they hear. Like it's a fact. Like if you're out first, you're going to get more downloads. But sometimes the downloads aren't worth it to me, man. I'd rather put mine out when it's ready. That's why we always take 2 weeks after New Year's to put ours out, even though there's already been 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 of them out already. I don't care because the views aren't always the most important thing to me. It's the content. I do care about views. I do care about downloads because if nobody's listening, then what the hell's the point? Why not just talk to ourselves and not record it? You know, why do I edit it and do all this shit that takes forever? Because I want people to hear it. But at a certain point, there's always an overlap there because I don't care enough about them to sacrifice some of the things that I like feel strongly about. And I feel strongly about wait until the year to be over to put out a show, even if it means less downloads, which it always does.
Yeah. And I gotta say that's honorable because at a certain point, how much are you gonna do just for downloads? Like,
yeah,
I mean, are we gonna have an episode where Moodz sees if he can like jerk off and if Jeremy will eat it for views? Like, we don't want that. We don't want that. Yeah. We don't. So Adam Claver had a second question, and this can be taken one of two ways. So we're gonna do them both. He said, "Would you ask him if they've considered doing interviews?" I do not know if he means ask the people behind Witchcraft if they would do interviews so that when you did the show, y'all would have interviews, or if he's saying, hey, 22 Shots, are y'all ever going to do interviews where y'all interview like famous people and celebrities?
So that's something funny right there because like if we did the Witchcraft show, like it would be funny to hear like because I think I even mentioned I was like we should get David Sterling on the show. He directed like the last 3 that just came out.
Yeah.
And or produced them or something, and like that dude's funny as fuck. Watch his YouTube videos or his Facebook Live videos. That guy is funny, unintentionally funny. But anyway, so yeah, hell, let's try it. You know, whatever. Interviews are hard for us because I am not super confident in doing interviews. Like we just did one with Amanda Bierce for Married with Children. I didn't say much in there, which was kind of planned at the same time because like I didn't really feel too comfortable. I didn't know her that well.
Yeah, it was JP. Like it wasn't like we shut him out. He was like, guys, I just kind of want to listen.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. Like I just want to talk to somebody that I know something about. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk to somebody that I know nothing about. So I'm okay with doing them. We actually did record a interview from like an indie filmmaker that was supposed to go on episode 101, but we recorded it before we recorded 99, and episode 100 got delayed so long that what they were saying in the interview was irrelevant by the time we got to 101. So technically there is a lost interview in the archives that maybe I'll release one day just for the hell of it. But it's a very indie thing, and they reached out to us and asked if we could help promote something for them. So that happened. And as far as like other interviews, like we've had opportunities to get like certain people, like Jeremy's worked with, like the chick from the Contracted movies, and a couple other people that Jeremy's worked with and things like that. And believe it or not, way back in season 2, when we first started season 2 in 2014, I had an interview lined up with the director of Leprechaun.
What?
Mark Jones. I think that's his name, Mike, something like that.
Mike Jones.
And he was going to come on to talk about Vampiricon, which was a film that he was trying to get made, which was going to feature Warwick Davis as a leprechaun, but he got bit by a vampire. And it was an Indiegogo thing. And the campaign did really bad, but I also heard that the rights... He found out that he couldn't make it anyway because of the rights or something, so he completely abandoned it. But he was going to actually talk to me about the Leprechaun films, which I'm a huge fucking fan of. Like, I love them to death.
I'm with you.
And I always hated that for the longest time there was no special treatment to the Leprechaun films. Like, all the DVDs were like bare bones and stuff. So I thought this would have been a perfect opportunity, and I know a little bit about him, to kind of talk to him about the Leprechaun movies. But no, like to kind of wrap up that question a little bit, that fell through, and we never really tried after that. And it really comes down to Moodz did a ton of hip hop interviews. A lot of people don't know this. Moodz was a radio DJ, like on radio, at one point, and he used to interview people all the time, and he started hating it, I guess. His words, this is coming from me. I can't remember exactly what he said. He might tell a different story, but from what I remember, he said that he doesn't really like to interview anymore because he's done so many. And Jeremy's fucking is useful as a banana.
Yeah,
so
you
know
what I mean? I don't think I want to hear Jeremy interview someone. Well, I don't know. I assume that Jeremy does have the ability to be professional since he has worked on stuff. So I assume he probably could hold his own in an interview and not randomly call you some racist shit.
Yeah.
Or say my name.
I also thought about getting Nico B from Cult Epics, like see, most people go for actors and directors, writers, stuff like that. But I was thinking like something different, like maybe get somebody who works for distribution or a press agent or something like that. Just something out of the norm.
Or a host of a popular podcast.
Yeah, or a host of a popular podcast. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're not something that we won't do, but it's not something that's on our immediate list to do, because it's just one. And the final thing, schedules. Our schedules are crazy. Like, there's been times where our schedule was record the show at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, just insane stuff. It's kind of calmed down, and we've been able to, it's probably the best schedule we've ever had. But we used to record Sunday nights at midnight, starting at midnight. Then we used to record Thursday nights starting at 11 p.m. Then we recorded at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. It was crazy. Like, we've been all over the place over the years. But so schedules is one of the big things why we haven't touched interviews as well.
Scheduling is the one thing that I don't think people, like listeners, realize how hard it is to actually schedule guest appearances on a podcast, even just scheduling like your normal people for a podcast. Like, if you do not have the ability to have a same set time to do it, or can like be flexible, it is really hard for me and Kenneth to be on an episode of the Skeleton Crew for the 90s show. I had to wake up at like fucking 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
Is that why Jamie wasn't on that show? Because you couldn't find a time for all of you guys?
No, she was supposed to be on the show. We did not find out until I can't remember if we found out the day before or that morning. But no, she actually had something happen in her life and could not make it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So, but yeah, the thing with that sounded like a dick, right? That's unfortunate. All right, next thing.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it like that. Really, I didn't. I just thought of something to add into that interview question that I forgot. Basically, if we do one too, we almost want to go the route that Jason Lloyd used to do, and now the route that Exploding Heads did, where they have the person come on and review something. I was really against that idea until I heard it done on Exploding Heads, where they actually did a really good job. I just didn't think that the person who's not like a critic or anything like that would be able to hold their own, but she did fine. Ashley, what's her name? Ashley Carter or something like that.
Lauren Ashley Carter.
Lauren Ashley Carter. But so we were thinking like maybe get like a Ryan Nicholson or like the guy from the Fred Vogel from Toe Tag. He's local to Pittsburgh. So somebody like that who's into horror films to begin with, or like a Dustin Mills or something, like an indie director or something like that. Have them review something with us. So it's something that we definitely have thought about, but just nothing set in stone or anything serious yet.
On that, would you want them to review their own work, or would you want to completely no. And in that, you said there's a lost interview. Are there lost episodes where like the recording just didn't work, there was malfunctions, glitches like that, like whole episodes that just never came to be, that were like recorded, not just an idea, but recorded and never came?
Yeah, there's one episode that I have a couple clips that I don't know if I still have them, but stuff that didn't make the show. Back when I edited a little bit more of it out. Now I'm kind of like you, where I just flip on the mic and then I do like very minimal editing just because it takes so long. I'm not trying to pull an Alex up in here and stuff, but I used to do that. I used to cut out full conversations about things that were off topic. So I did have a few of those things, but I think they're like lost or gone, or I deleted them now. But there was one full episode that we lost, and it was I can't remember exactly the date, but I want to say that it was Valentine's Day of 2014. It was like around there where we were going to record My Bloody Valentine remake versus original, and we eventually ended up doing that, me and Moodz, in like the 70s, I think, that like episode 70-ish, but that recording got lost, and we always hype that episode, but it was actually a really good episode for one of our early episodes, and we had an amazing conversation about Charles Band and Full Moon Entertainment, and it's completely lost because it didn't record. So and I think that was Jeremy's fault. He was recording the show back then. That's when I started recording.
Interesting. Yeah, like, because there's nothing worse than that, because like we back in October, we were going to do our first retrospective, which was going to be The Evil Dead, because I was going to Evil Dead the musical.
Yes.
And we tried to record that show 3 times. And each time was 3-hour-long recordings.
Was that back when the Skype update happened and nobody's recorder worked anymore?
My recorder worked, but it kept getting this weird, like one time I was recording with Fraps, and it fucked up, and I lost everything. And it was like 2.5 hours into recording. The next time we recorded a full show, only to find out one of us, I think it might have been me, was not recorded at all. And then the third time we recorded it, the entire time you listened to it, all you heard was these really loud audio screeches and beeps throughout the entire episode. It was fucking terrible. So we just decided that episode was dead, and I think we did movie rental store memories in its place.
Yeah, which, speaking of, I've heard a podcast that did that before. You know what I mean? So that goes to show you, I know for a fact that you did not hear that podcast, but I think it was maybe Attack of the Killer podcast who did that back in the day. So, that goes to show you, man. Don't worry about if somebody's done it or not.
And
man.
One day I might have to put out. So the first interview style episode we ever did was with Alex. It was Last Alex on the Side of the Bone Road. That was only after recording for an hour. We were reviewing a movie, and it just wasn't going right to me. I didn't like how it was going. And so we just decided to start going off on all these crazy tangents, and I just started asking him questions, and it turned into an interview, which led the idea for me to interview podcasters.
Great idea. You got me on your show.
Yeah, exactly. I tried to get you on it one time to send me a drop, but you got too busy. I won't hold that against you.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, you'll when you get later on the episodes. I decided I wanted to be like the Skeleton Crew and have drops, but since I didn't know anyone famous to do it, I was going to get podcasters to do it. So
okay, yeah, I remember that.
I got Alex to do it, I got Jamie to do it, and I got Watson to do it, and Watson did like a full-on fucking commercial. It was great. Okay. Zachary Pucinelli?
Yeah, that's Zach.
Yeah, Zach. Obviously. He wants to know how long you've been out of the closet.
Gay wise? Still in there, bro.
Okay. Next question. This one was one of the long ones. From James D. Cox.
That's my homie from Finland. I love James Cox. Such a nice dude.
Okay. What got you into actually getting off your arse and making YouTube videos, then making the leap into podcasting? I think most people think about doing it, but JP goes to a whole new level and dedicated so much of his life to this. It is his life, it seems. So fair play. And what drives you? You seem to be loving it more and more, doing more podcasts, increasing your workload. It's a labor of love. And what came first? The collecting, getting into YouTube? I can see them both feeling each other. Now, we kind of already answered a lot of this.
Yeah, we touched on it. So I'll give you the smaller version of it. Yeah, so started collecting after I started watching YouTube. Watched YouTube for a while, stopped video game collecting, started collecting horror movies. Didn't tell you that part though. And then, got into YouTube, started a podcast. It was called Burial Grounds, got into 22 Shots. 22 Shots took a break. That's when I started a double shot of horror, which lasted. The idea behind that was a double shot of horror, 2 movies reviewed. It was me and actually Rich Styles, who I think currently hosts Rabbit and Red now. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to that guy in years. But it was me and him. And basically, we had a guest each episode. So we had Boss Butcher from the Terror Troop, and a couple of my friends, like Matt Cantor was on there and stuff. And Moodz was supposed to be on an episode. And we actually recorded half of that episode and released it as like a bonus like a while back. But that was the end of it. Then we came back to 22 Shots, and as far as the like why I do it so much, like why I'm obsessed with it. I mean, I'm kind of an obsessive person, and like if it keeps me sane to say the least, I guess. Like I'm an obsessive person. When I get into something, whether it's like Yu-Gi-Oh or skateboarding or magic cards or hip hop or anything, man.
You can see me on the magic cards, son. I used to play. I will fucking annihilate you.
I'm sure you will. I haven't played them forever. But you know what I mean? Like I get really into it, and whenever I found this horror thing, not only was I getting into something I thought was cool, like I did when I skated, but I was getting into something that I loved all my life and didn't realize how much I loved it, which is horror. And I got to be honest, like this stuff has kept me sane. When I've had bad days, when I've had like bad weeks, when bad things happen in my life, sometimes I have to take a step away from this stuff too, because it becomes unhealthy. But it also keeps me from going crazy. Because I truly believe if you do not have a hobby in life, like you don't have a life, homie. Like you have to have a hobby. It keeps things balanced. The world is balanced when you have a hobby. Mm-hmm. And my world gets balanced incredibly because like I could have done some really bad things, you know what I mean? And I made a conscious choice to not go down that path that I was going down and focus on something positive. And it started with just simple things like sports, which I'm also obsessed with. But then I got into this, and now it is my life. Like I care about it so much. Like I put so much energy into it. And that's why, when we talk about Patreons And I know Jerry knows about the Patreon, but that's something that we're talking about, and this is the first time that the listeners are hearing this, I guess. But it's because I want to keep doing this and it not feel like so much work for that I'm also paying for out of pocket, because we do pay to do this, whether it's buying the movies that we watch, renting the movies. I'm not a big fan of illegal downloads and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
If I have to, I have to, like if I can't find it anywhere else or whatever, but for the most part, I don't like doing it. Screeners are nice and they've took a big workload off of buying, but like we pay hundreds of dollars for our website each year. You know what I mean? And that's money out of our pockets. And we do it for you guys because we like to have like the cool extra things like the ratings page and the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. And it's something little, but we like it. And we also just like we want to step it up. We want to make shirts. We want to get an artist to design a sweet logo, there's some people who have hooked me up with stuff that I do plan on using, but I'm talking about an original logo, like kind of what the Horrorcast did. Their logo is so fucking sick. But that guy, I reached out to that guy, he wants like $500 or something. You know what I mean?
I will say this, because I have an original logo.
It's a good one. I like it.
I drew a shitty picture of it. I gave it to Reese, who actually can draw, and she drew a better version of it. And then I have a friend who does digital art, and I was like, hey. And this goes into JP's wanting to pay for movies. If you were in a hobby, support that hobby. Pay for it. Don't complain about it
when the hobby goes away.
Exactly.
Because you didn't pay for it. Yeah.
And do not ask an artist to do shit for free for exposure. I will punch you in the fucking face. Don't do that. So I hit up my friend Casey, and I was like, hey, how much will you charge me to make this into a digital product? Because Reese, while she can draw, she doesn't have any experience with it doing it on a computer. And I'll be honest, she only charged me $50.
Yeah.
And gave it to me.
Yeah, and that's a good price, and I would pay $50 to have a sweet logo.
If you have an idea, let me know, and I'll
see. But that's the problem. I need somebody more creative than me to come up with an idea, because I don't know what the hell to do with our name and things like that, and I don't care. It's so hard. But to kind of get back into that a little bit, like, dude, I love it. Like, I love it to death. Like, I am so passionate about it. I think about it all the time. Most of my time that I'm thinking like, if it's not sports, which I love to death, like sports are my thing. I know you don't get anything with that, Jerry, but
you dare almost call me Jeremy. I will fucking gut you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. That was fucked up of me. But like I think about it nonstop. Like, I'm like, what could I do? Like, I think about episodes. Like, yeah, there's times where I'm like, fuck, I gotta watch 4 movies. I got 2 days. Like, you know what I mean? And then I love doing like the Netflix and chill and the Married with Children and stuff like that. And it does get a lot, guys. It does get a lot. But there's times where like I do get annoyed and I don't feel like doing it, but then I miss it the moment that I stop, So I'm obsessed with it. I hope it lives forever. As long as people listen, I'll podcast forever, and to circle back to the Patreon thing, I didn't mean to announce it like that, you know what I mean? But it's something that's probably coming. But it's also all of the money is literally going back into the show, whatever we do get. And the way we're setting it up is you will get to pick the like outcome of shows. Like, if you do a certain thing, you'll get to pick a movie for one of us to review, or even like a trilogy or something like that, depending on what you pick.
And I won't say too much on it, as I am actually, because I found it, and
because it does exist.
It does exist, but I
haven't officially launched it, to the public.
Yeah, and I'm actually already supporting them.
Which I love, and thank you very much. You're the man.
Not a problem. I really do believe in support people that entertain you, because if you don't, then they're going to go away, and you're not going to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not me doing it for, I'm not doing it because I'm like, oh, if I support them, it'll do something for me. No, I want them to continue. I want them to keep making great things. So I support them, and I support Exploding Heads because they're on the Patreon. If Skeleton Crew did it, which I mean they won't because they're leaving, I would support them also. And it's amazing, and it gives. And I get to force JP to watch fucking shit. Akira. I've got a movie picked out for Moodz. For the next month, or however, I don't know how it's fully going to work because it's still under planning. So surprise announcement here, but hey, that's an exclusive. Bam, there.
Yeah,
you go.
That is an exclusive.
That is
there
a
you go,
fucking
man.
exclusive. So I don't want to ask you this next question, but I'm going to because I'm asking every question. I asked about a closet. I have to now. Try to control yourself, JP.
Yeah.
Jason Lloyd says, fuck, I don't want to. Okay. Are you ready to admit that It Comes at Night is a decent drama?
Listen, the video I made today for YouTube, I talk about It Comes at Night, like not even intentionally. Like, I fucking love that movie. I will, for the rest of this year, I'm going to be praising that movie. I'm gonna be the pusher. I have to because there ain't nobody else doing it. Listen, man, I love it. It was one of the best theater experiences I've ever had in my life. It is a horror film because it scared me, and I love it.
I'm gonna watch it now. Everyone knows I didn't like The Witch. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just didn't like it. I have not finished The Black Coat's Daughter. I got like halfway through it and was bored out of my mind.
But you probably won't like this movie.
But I'm gonna finish it, and I'm going to watch It Comes at Night because anytime someone's gonna be that enthusiastic about it, I've got to check it out. And because it reminds, literally you said it's so hard for you to comprehend how someone does not see this. Like, you in the theater were like, oh my god, everyone's gonna be all over this movie's dick. It's so good. And I get that because my favorite band in the world is Every Time I Die, and I cannot understand anyone not liking them. It is fucking, it just makes no sense to me. I love them that much that I cannot comprehend it. And it made, when I listened to y'all talk about it, I was just like, well, I'm going to have to fucking watch this movie. And I'll be honest, I wanted to watch it from the trailer because I thought it was a monster movie, a creature feature. I now know it's not. And I kind of suspected when I saw the trailer because I'm getting used to seeing the art house horror films kind of presenting themselves as more of a standard horror film. Yeah. And to rope you in, and then you get in and it's art house. And I think that backlashes a lot, but it seems to be also working, so I don't think they're going to stop it. But I do have to say, everyone listen to fucking JP talk about that, because even if you don't give a fuck about the movie, he makes some points that are incredible about how we as fans of the genre, like, even if I won't take an example from that, but I'll take an example like this. How many times have you heard someone go, oh, well, I didn't like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake because Robert Englund didn't play Freddy. Well, do you want the series to officially be dead and there never be another Nightmare on Elm Street movie just because Robert Englund is too old to play it? That's ridiculous. Like, I can understand if he's willing and able and it works with the movie and them going, no, like what happened with Kane Hodder in Freddy vs. Jason.
Which kills me still to this day.
Yes, I can understand that, but to completely disregard it off of something so shallow and superficial is ridiculous. You can't sit there and go, I'm not going to watch this movie because it's mainstream horror. That's fucking
or
dumb.
That it's PG-13
or that it's PG-13. I can understand if you go, it's PG-13, so it's not at the top of my list, but I'll give it a chance. But to outright just, I understand if you watch the trailer and go, I have no interest. I had no interest in seeing the new Tom Cruise The Mummy after watching the trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see it.
And you know what, man? I mean, I'm just more to the camp where like I'll be okay with letting anything take over me. You know what I mean? Like I'll let it come to me and just like an aura, just like, all right, let me see what you got. And then, I don't care about if it was this or that or what the budget was. Like that shit does not matter to me. Like the movie is the movie, and the marketing or anything else just does not affect me.
Yes.
Like I don't care.
I agree. Okay, Jason does actually have an actual question. Is there a film you absolutely love but think it needs one scene altered or cut out to make it an even better film?
Whew. Think back.
Yeah, that's a hard one because I can't come up with one that I can come up with a movie I don't like that I know of one way to alter it.
There's a few that are coming to mind now. One of them is actually either your favorite film or one of your favorite films, but pretty much anything to do with the cops in Last House on the Left.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. I love Last House on the Left. And, oh, JP, when you get to that episode, I hope you like deep intellectual conversations that maybe really fucking overthought this movie. Because me, Watson, and Kenneth go for like 3 hours on that one movie.
I think that, I don't know if you've heard our episode, but I think me and Moodz had a really good conversation on Last House on the Left as well.
I have to hear it now because I after I got done with ours, I went back and listened to the Death by Podcast one. And it's so interesting because we had such different takes, not like different styles of reviewing the movie, but like me and Kenneth and Jay, we just went so fucking deep in that movie that like Alex even told me he didn't really care for the interview because it wasn't like the review because we weren't funny. We did not crack that many jokes. We went the complete opposite. Like
I'll have to check that out because I even though I like, and I'll tell you a little spoiler alert right now, Jerry, we don't love that movie and we find it very problematic, but I think that I'm just guessing here, but I bet that some of the things that you talk about, I talk about too and praise them. But there's just other things in the movie that I almost feel like completely ruins the movie. And I just thought of another one too.
Okay.
Krampus, the goddamn gingerbread. It ruins a potentially 10 out of 10 or a 9.5 movie because of the fucking comedy gingerbread shit.
Yeah, I actually just watched Krampus for the first time this year because of listening to Watson. And because the guy they said he was going to direct Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters. So, of course, I'm jumping on board.
Oh, that's another one. Any Godzilla with Mothra. Get that fucking moth out of the movie. That thing is stupid.
I can't even repeat what you just said because Reese will probably come in here and stab me. And she's Mexican. She's really good with a fucking butterfly knife. So that's her favorite, like, character. I can't. Okay. Yeah.
I hate
Holy
that
shit. Man. I have so much to say on that, but I'm not going to because this is not a Godzilla episode. This is not a Jerry episode. Okay. Charlene Jondi?
She's French. Doesn't matter how to say it.
Okay. She actually has a couple of questions, so we'll go through these. Does watching a film for reviewing purposes affect your enjoyment of a film? Has there ever been a film that you've always enjoyed but ended up liking it less after watching it from an analytical angle?
Absolutely. Happens all the time. I say that it's a double-edged sword. It's live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah, Laid to Rest is a perfect example of this. Like, y'all just did Laid to Rest, and that's a perfect... You bring it up in the episode.
Yeah, and, you know, it's something that I battle with a lot. People give me shit because I'll say, I like this, I like this, I like that, I like that, 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
But that's me really separating what I like personally, because I like, and it's just a different style. I like creature features. I grew up watching creature features. I love Leprechaun. I love Leprechaun 2. I love Leprechaun 3. I love all those movies. I love some movies that are genuinely bad movies, like Contamination Point 7, and, you know, the troll films and whatever. But I am trying to rate them based on critical analysis of what the movie contains, not personally what I find funny or unintentionally funny or any of that stuff. And that's just my style, and I've perfected it, and I've critiqued my own style to death over the past 4 years. If you watch my first reviews, they're atrocious. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it does affect my enjoyment. I love the Children of the Corn movies. I loved all of them growing up. Those are some terrible fucking movies. Like, there are some bad ones in there. Like, part 5 and 6 are atrocious.
Yeah.
And watching them as as a critical view changes your opinion for sure.
Yeah.
For sure it does.
And I gotta say, I actually give you so much credit for the way you review, because when you were talking on the recent episode how the person was complaining because you were like, oh yeah, this movie, I really love this, I like this, 4 out of 10. They're like, how can you like the movie and then rate it so low? And I'm like, because he's giving you an honest, unbiased review. Do you understand how hard it is to review a movie and not be biased? Like,
It's very hard. I've tried so hard to make it like
shit.
that.
I don't even try. I just go, look, this movie is going to be rated based on me. And that's
which
how
is a fine way to do it too.
But and I could do that. I could rate a movie and go, look, this is my, and that's what we do for Horror Coliseum. We have a technical rating and a personal rating. I made everyone in Kill the Cast rate each movie in each category twice. Fucking twice, because I wanted to see, does your technical, unbiased opinion, does it beat out your personal feelings when we actually rate this?
I like to look at it as if I'm judging a sport, a combat sport, right? It doesn't matter if I like to see them stand up and fight. If they're on the ground, who is controlling, who is dominating, who is using better technique? And if you apply that to film, what is good technique, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, I'm judging the film, not based on what I like. Yeah. I like seeing them throw head kicks and knock each other out. And I hate when they're just laying on top of each other. But if that's what's happening, that's what's happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyone who does podcasts will 100% tell you, yes, reviewing these movies from a critical standpoint and having to examine their flaws and then justify if it's okay or if it's not can make you judge. And that's why I've said I will never review Jaws. I don't ever want to review Jaws, even though I don't think, even if I look at it from a critical eye, that there's going to be much for me to really tear apart. I don't want to do it because Jaws is just my favorite movie of all time, and I don't want to go that route.
It's a pretty fucking perfect movie. Like, the only issue that I have with it is that Jesus, that's compressed air. Watch what you're doing. Like, that's fake. Like, it's fake as fuck. That's not what happens. And I even knew that before Mythbusters shot a compressed air tank with a gun. Yeah. Like, it does not explode. And that's really the only problem. That's why I gave it a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, well, it should have been 10. But she also wants to know, what are the 5 franchises you would love to cover on the podcast?
I would love to do Wrong Turn. Mm-hmm. But something you know about us is we always, if there's something in development, we always wait for the newest one to come out before we tackle the franchise, so it's not as outdated. And we actually threw around an idea of doing, I don't know if I said this on air or not, but basically a franchise roundup show. So, like,
okay, you did mention this.
Okay, so we would do like Leprechaun Genesis or whatever it's called, Leprechaun Origins, Phantasm 5, and like another thing that came out that made our franchise show dated, which surprisingly there's not too many of them, but that is how we're going to handle the fact that once our franchise show becomes outdated, we'll still end up covering the next installment. So Wrong Turn, absolutely Friday the 13th. It's like my number one show. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I also really want to do the Paranormal Activity films, as well as probably like the next biggest one for me would be Nightmare on Elm Street. But most of those shows are not happening anytime soon. The closest one is probably Texas Chainsaw when the new one comes out, because that's when we're going to do it. Friday the 13th is too sacred for me. Like, I've said this from the beginning, right? I've seen what Skeleton Crew did, and they did most of the big franchises early on. Mm-hmm. They did Halloween and Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I've seen many shows do that. And I said from the beginning when we did this show, we're not doing more than one of the main franchises per year. So the first year, we didn't do any. Well, technically, the first year it was Halloween. Our first October show, we did Halloween. And we haven't done any of the big franchises since then. We have not done Hellraiser. We have not done Friday the 13th, Elm Street, any of those, like, because we've done Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Leprechaun and Phantasm, but we almost did Psycho last year. We almost did Psycho 2 summers ago. We almost did Psycho. It was planned, but we didn't end up doing it. But yeah.
And I think that's great, because that's one thing for Kill the Cast that I starting off, I was like, we're not going to just do a bunch of big movies because we're not good enough yet. And even now, we're still not good enough yet, but we do balance it out, because I hate our Halloween review. I fucking hate it.
See, that I almost wish we didn't do Halloween when we were so young, because it's like episode 30 something. Like, I think we do a better job now.
Yeah.
But I also think that we're not going to get much better or different. I think like the way the show sounds now is probably how it's going to sound for the most part going forward, because we perfected our craft to a sense. You know what I mean? You can always get better, but I'm saying, like, it's probably going to sound similar to this. It's not as much gap, right?
Yeah.
Like when you look at VHS to DVD, huge difference. DVD to Blu-ray, not as much of a difference. Blu-ray to 4K, not as much. We're like kind of in the 4K territory right now.
Yeah. And that actually goes into the next question, which is, I personally think the show is awesome as it is, but is there anything you would do to improve it?
That's kind of a loaded question, because what
Kick
I would
Jeremy
do
off
to
the show.
improve it, yeah, right. What I would do to improve it, it seems like nobody wants it, and this comes from what I like listening to, and it's personally for me the length. I don't like listening to long podcasts unless they are packed with content and it's very fast moving. However, Moodz really likes having everything there. Excuse me. And we've posted multiple polls in our group throughout time and said, what is the ideal length for a podcast that you guys would want from us? And it's always almost 4+ hours. Over 70%, 80% of people prefer the longer shows. So I think that improving the show would be cutting it down, but the majority of people, and including my co-host, thinks that the long show is kind of us, and that's what people want. And honestly, we do cover a lot of stuff, like with news and stuff like that. So I mean, it kind of, I think what's cool about our show is some people probably literally only listen for the news. Like every week they listen to the news and then they click off. And some people probably only come for what we watched. And I think that's true, because I've heard people say that they only come for the releases because they want to know what's coming out. You know what I mean? So, and I do really good show notes to where you could skip ahead and back and forth and go to whatever you want to listen to. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I would do to improve it. The only other thing is better editing, but I'm just not putting in the work for it, because I already spent so many hours. Like, I say this, but you guys truly don't know how many fucking hours I have to spend on this show. And that's why, like, when somebody like critiques something that I get, like, and sometimes I'll be in a bad mood and I just edit this long show and I'll see a comment and I'll be like, motherfucker, where's your podcast? Let me hear it, motherfucker. Because you know what? Wait, can you cuss on here?
Yes.
Okay, because I've been cussing. All right.
Yeah, I cuss all the time. Yeah, and actually, I need, like, you and Exploding Heads, y'all have to stay long, because that's the whole, like, thing for Kill the Cast, is I want to be the opposite of that. I want to be that short form show when you go, fuck, I am not about to listen to Jeremy scream, fuck you and racist shit for 5 fucking hours.
That's another thing. I actually would calm down on Jeremy's antics a little bit. Like, I do think sometimes they're overblown.
Yeah, but the one really good thing about Jeremy being on the show is listening to Moodz talk over him. Just domineering. Just literally, he will be talking and or he'll try to say something, and Moodz will stay talking and not flinch. Just
that's funny, because I thought I did that more than him.
You do it too, but when you do it, you also will sometimes kind of be like, "Look, shut up." Moodz just as if Jeremy's not even there.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why I put when I did that little diss rap to Jeremy, when I did that video for him, because he gave me shit because I misspelled Carrie Elwes's name because I put an E in Carrie and there's no E because my
this
autocorrect
motherfucker
did it.
literally didn't know his ABCs. He can't say shit.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, that's it. He's getting a fucking diss rap in public because the only person who's gotten a diss rap is Dan, and that wasn't in public.
Yeah.
And so I had to drop it, and I had to bring up the fact that he's literally, I said something along the lines of, he's on the show for Neil and I to make fun of him.
Dude, Neil is brutal. I messaged Jeremy yesterday, and I was like, dude, you better step your game up. You're getting bodied by these dudes. You're making us look bad.
Dude, he's so easy. He said some shit.
He sets himself up a lot, man.
Yeah, he made a joke out on me, and I was like, oh, he posted a thing about 100 greatest movie insults. And I was like, yeah, well, you better get someone else to do your material because you sure as fuck can't come up with any. Like, yeah. I just gotta go at him. Okay, and speaking of things Jeremy would say, last question from her is, where does that Mexican sexiness come from? And you cannot say Mexico.
Well, thank you. I think that's a girl, right? Charlene
John D. I don't know, but even if
I didn't mean that like that sounded like a dick too. I meant like that's Charlene, right? Like, like you're still on her.
Charlene John D. Yes.
Yeah. Wink, wink, Charlene. You know, dude. You know
Move to America.
Not to blow my own horn, but I've always been pretty good looking. I've never had problems with the ladies growing up, all right? But I will say this, man. I'm a little overweight right now. I'm very not as much athletic. Like I was athletic when I was, growing up, played baseball and skateboarded and shit like that. But like I just let myself go because all I do is podcast and I don't get as much. I just started working out again. That's why Married with Children's going to be a little bit hard to record here on certain days because I'm working out at a fitness center, so I got to be there, or it's a waste. And I'm gonna try to get back in shape. But I would say my mom, but my mom's ugly as fuck, so that's not true. So it'd probably be my mom has red hair and freckles, and I would have been pissed if that happened to me. But I mean, maybe my dad. I guess I don't know. I think I'm an alright looking dude. Like I do fine.
Yeah, no, I think the reason you're single is because your eyebrow game is so strong that women don't want to be with you because everyone's gonna be like, "Damn, look at that eyebrow game. That bitch needs to step up. Her shit looks fucked up, and yours is so strong." I'm just throwing that out there. Marco Vertinen.
Yep, Marco the movie fan.
Yeah,
from Finland.
He wants to know: are you really a Mexican asshole?
Yep. I would say I am.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 Derek wants to know, what are some trilogies you consider underrated?
The Cube trilogy, if you only count the first and third.
The two best answers to this are
the Hostel trilogy,
the Shark Attack trilogy,
Ginger Snaps trilogy. There you go.
Oh yeah, that's a good one actually. Okay, Corey Walter, does JP ever get mad stoned and watch horror movies that would otherwise be not enjoyable? So okay, now for legal reasons, I'm gonna say, do you ever partake in anything alcohol, anything that you might find laying around to watch a horror movie that you would probably have not enjoyed while being sober?
I don't drink because I used to drink a lot in my teens and early 20s. And not that I ever became like an alcoholic. I just got in a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. So I stopped drinking and stopped being a fool. But I can drink. Like I can't. Like I took a shot.
You took a shot with us on Married Children. I sent that video to Alex. I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay. So I can drink. Like every once in a while I'll drink a little bit. I've never been into drinking and watching movies though, because like drinking to me makes me want to like do. Well, I guess that's why I shouldn't drink. Makes me want to go out and do shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I never like Watson's really good at like whiskeying and movies. Like I can't. I don't know if I could do that. Like, and as far as like the other thing goes, I've been a really bad smoker most of my life. Like even when I was into partying and drugs and stuff, it was never pot because I get really paranoid.
Okay.
And it doesn't I just can't I've never been good at it ever. Like I have like horror stories from when I got too paranoid and stuff. However, last I would probably say like January, I got my gram some pot because she smokes weed, and because she had like cancer and stuff, but she's always smoked her whole life anyway.
Yeah.
But so I had some, and I was like, you know, maybe it's been a while, so I just took a little piece, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'll just try. I just put it in a cigarette, you know what I mean? I don't smoke cigarettes. I used to, but you know, not now. But I can smoke a cigarette. So I was like, I put a little piece in there and did it, and like I was cool, and I was like, holy shit, I could do this. Like I never thought. And then like, you know, I was good, and I started doing this every day after work on my way home, and then I'd watch a movie. That's where I like discovered Neon Demon and how like amazing it was. So yes, technically, yes, I did that before. And I was talking to Dave, and well, I'm not going to put Dave's business out there or anything like that. I don't know what.
I'm pretty sure Dave has said multiple times that he does it openly.
Okay, so good. So Dave was telling me
well,
about,
let's say that he at least used to. We know in his past that he has.
Okay.
As for currently, I don't think so. But he has.
So when Dave used to smoke, he said that he would watch a movie and blah blah blah, and he was sharing his past experience with me, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this. So I started doing it. It was making me sleep good. It was working perfect. I would drive, go on a smoke ride, drive, but at this whole time I was only taking a little pinch, and then I was like, okay, so this is what it's like, because I would always see these guys smoking weed and walk around and be like, fine. And I'm like, how the fuck are you doing that? You know what I mean? Like, cause like if I was doing that, I would be like fucking hiding under a car or something. You know what I mean? Cause I'd be all paranoid. And I was like, I was like, oh, so this is what happens when you build a tolerance. You could just walk around like normal. So I was like all happy that I was able to do that. So I made the fatal mistake of thinking that I had built a tolerance. So I just smoked a bunch. And then it was the worst night of my life. I was like driving, I didn't know where I was and shit. And not really the worst night of my life, but like it sucked. And I was like, yep, that's it. Tossed it out the window and was done, and haven't done it again since.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that's funny. When I was a teenager, you know, I'd go smoke weed in the woods. And that's actually how I learned to freestyle rap, is we would get high and freestyle rap. Back off Little John's The Crunk Juice CD.
Yeah.
But as I discovered other drugs, I was never that big of a fan of weed because I would get really dizzy and I feel like gravity would be crushing me and it would make me nauseous. But then I discovered real drugs, and you know, like and started doing fucking coke and ecstasy and acid and shit like that, and I wouldn't fuck with weed anymore. In fact, I got to a point where I hated weed. I was like, I don't want to be around people who smoke weed. They're fucking dumb. They're annoying. I fucking hate it. One of my ex-girlfriends, like, she smoked weed and I didn't. And like after that relationship, I was so burned that I was just like, I'm never dating another chick that smoked weed. In fact, when I got with Reese, I was like, yo, if you're gonna smoke weed, I'm not gonna be with you, straight up.
Yeah.
But I have really bad anxiety and depression. And 2 years ago, I think this is the first time I've ever said this publicly. 2 years ago, I lost a bunch of weight and I stopped eating. I was not eating. I was going days without eating. Every time I took a bite of anything, even my favorite foods, I would feel disgusted and I wouldn't want to eat. It was just gross as shit. And I wouldn't eat. And I dropped a bunch of fucking weight. I'm not a big guy to begin with. So for me to drop weight, like my fucking cheeks were sunken in. People were asking
Yeah,
me.
that you're already skinny as fuck looking, man.
Yeah, my brother told me that his baby's mama's dad asked if I was a heroin addict after seeing pictures of me. And I was like, no, I'm not. But so I started smoking weed to help me eat, and it helps me sleep. And it's
Dude, that's the one thing that it was doing for me. Like, I was
holy
sleeping
shit.
great, man.
And it doesn't fully help me sleep. Like, some nights I get really, really good sleep, but now instead of me going 2-3 weeks where every night is shitty sleep, I actually get 1 or 2 nights a week of decent sleep, which has helped me tremendously. I eat now. It's fantastic. But I have not watched a horror movie while high. I watch comedies. I don't do it. I don't know why. Kenneth keeps telling me, because Kenneth used to smoke a lot of weed. He doesn't do any drugs now. He keeps telling me, oh, you got to do it. It's a whole different experience. And I just haven't watched a horror movie.
So you smoke regularly then?
Yes.
Okay.
I do not do it in public. I do not do it and go to work. I do not do it and go out. I literally...
You're a responsible adult, which is what it... Like, it. I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but it blows my mind that shit is still illegal, dude. It's so funny to me, man.
I literally will come home from work. I will smoke. I will eat. I will watch a movie. I will go to sleep. That is what I do. That's it. I don't want to go out to parties. I don't want to smoke with people. None of that shit. Like, I mean, if I met someone cool like Paul Stevenson, who I mean, he's pretty open about it. You know, I would be like, what's up, bro? Let's go. He'd be cool to hang out with. He'd probably smoke me under the fucking table, because I'm still very much a lightweight, even 2 years down the road, because JP, I made the mistake that you made, except I didn't go out. I just did it so much that it made me sick and nauseous again, and I ended up throwing up a lot.
Okay. Yeah, so, see, I was out because I would drive out into, because like where my house is, like I'm out in like the boonies, dude. Like I can go into the city pretty easy, but like just so happens that I'm like out in the middle of nowhere. There's like no cops or anything, so I would just drive out on a country road, and smoke, and then like fuck, man, it was like crazy, dude. Like I just couldn't wait to get home.
Yeah, fuck that, dude. I don't think I could do it, and I think that's one of the reasons I haven't watched a horror movie, is because I'm worried about it flipping me out, like, because I get really into movies. Like I've told the story before, but me and Kenneth like to put ourselves in the position of the character and really feel what they feel, and sometimes
that's me too, man.
That backfires. You talked about how you almost had an anxiety attack, and it comes at night. I understand that, because
true.
and you're about to laugh at me. I had to turn off VHS because I almost had a panic attack during the story where the chick is filming inside the hotel and they end up killing the guy.
The best story.
Yeah.
Whew, yeah, that was scary, man.
That one, Sinister. I almost had an anxiety attack during Sinister.
You like Sinister as well?
Yes, I actually really like Sinister.
Thank
I thought
you.
it was
because like I feel
good.
like I'm the only one. Yeah, I gave it like a 9 or something. I loved it.
I'm at least at an 8. At least. I fucking love Sinister. I think it's interesting. I think it's creepy.
Yeah,
and
me
it
too.
gave me, like, I literally had to tell Reese to stop the movie and give me a bit. I had to. I couldn't deal with it.
That's how I felt. I like that.
Man, I was fucking. Yeah, but I will full on have an anxiety or having a panic attack, and it is not pretty. So I'm not trying to do that. So I'm with you on all of that. Okay, we are down to our last questions, and they're all from Dave Z. Dave Z. Okay. Here we go. What's worse? More than half the world pronouncing it as Z instead of Z, or the Spanish language using the upside down question mark at the beginning of their sentences? Please, no Mexican bias.
I'm not biased. Z is fucking stupid. I'll take the question mark.
I agree, because you know what? No one pronounces that question mark.
Exactly.
All right. I think he should list off his controversial opinions that he once posted. It's a great conversation starter. Now, I don't know about this. Did you apparently like make a huge post about your controversial opinions?
I don't know what he's really getting at. He could be talking about stuff that we say in in private chats where like
Oh, where Jeremy does not say that you made a choice based off minorities? Jeremy, are you fucking serious? Like,
dude, that was funny.
that was hilarious. I was
I
laughing
think
my ass
he
off.
could be referring to something like, because I've said in the past that I think Jason Goes to Hell is actually pretty good. Or he could be talking about the fact that I think he's fake.
You think who's fake? Dave's fake?
Dave.
That
Dave's fake.
Wait, do you
not
mean
not Dave is fake.
no? Like what? Like he's a robot or he's someone?
No, he's a fake Friday the 13th fan.
Oh, he's not a real Friday the 13th. Oh, do you have any
Nope.
proof of this or
Yes,
like?
I do have,
Okay, what's
because he likes part 1 through 4.
I like part 1 through 4.
Okay.
My top 3 is probably 4 to 5.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can be a Friday the 13th fan, but Dave is known as a Friday the 13th fan. Yet he only likes 4 of them.
Okay, when I have Dave on, because Dave's gonna come do one of these interviews also, we're
Listen,
gonna have to get into that.
I'm a motherfucking Friday the 13th fan. I love part 1. I love part 2. I love part 3. I love part 4. I love part 5. I love part 6. I like part 7. I like part 8. I love part 9. Fuck, I love them all except for Jason X. And Jason X is tolerable. I'll just say that. I love them all. I love those films.
What's your top 3 Friday the 13th films? Because mine's
My top 3
4
is,
to 5.
Mine is 4 to 5.
What? We legit have the same ones in the same order?
Yeah.
Holy
yeah.
Oh, that
that's
reminds me. I was gonna ask you about this. Sorry, Dave. I will come back to you in a second. Where's my fucking note on this? JP thought the end of Friday 5 was Jason wearing a human mask. Explain.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I still actually have the VHS. You know what mold, like how VHSs get that mold and they're like fucked?
Yes.
Okay, so it has the mold thing, but I had a VHS tape that had A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 and Friday the 13th Part 5 on it, and another, I think, Full Metal Jacket, weirdly enough. And I used to watch that VHS straight through. Elm Street 2, Friday the 13th 5, Full Metal Jacket. I would watch it all the time. You know how, like, when you were a kid.
I did that shit all the time.
Yeah. And I would watch, and I would watch Friday the 13th Part 5, and I just assumed that I was young, I just assumed Jason was the killer, and at the end of the movie, when he falls onto those spikes and it's a big reveal, I'm like, holy shit, Jason had a human mask on under his hockey mask. That's fucking genius, because he's going to be able to walk around in broad daylight and nobody will know it's him.
Wow.
Yeah,
shit.
so that's my, I truly, for years, I'm talking till I was like in my probably like late teens, I thought this.
Wow.
I didn't know why. Like, as I got older, it didn't make sense. I was like, why the fuck do they have him? Why is he wearing a human mask? I never once noticed that dude was the dude from the ambulance.
Dude, when I was a kid, I never once noticed that either. I didn't notice that until like maybe the 3rd or 4th time I'd seen that movie, because I think 5 is the movie that I had watched the most out of as a kid for the Friday the 13th series.
Yeah, it was weird, man. I was like, Jason had a human mask on, just like a William Shatner mask. Like, I don't know, like he just had a regular dude's face mask on that you got from somewhere, and he wore it over his ugly face, and then he put a hockey mask over that so that he can easily take his hockey mask off and walk around in broad daylight, and everybody would be like, "Oh, hey, dude," you know what I mean? And nobody
smart
thinks
as shit.
a distorted, disfigured monster,
Yeah.
So like, my little kid brain put this story together, and I just rolled with it for years. But yeah, Dave is fake because he says that the Friday the 13th franchise is better than most whatever, but he doesn't like part 6. I can't call you a Friday the 13th fan if you don't like part 6. I'm sorry.
Part 6 isn't my least favorite, but it's I mean, I'm gonna have a couple above it easily. Like, I like part 6, but it's not in my top 5.
Yeah, but are you a diehard Friday the 13th fan?
It's probably my favorite horror franchise, but I feel like it's so generic for us horror fans to be like, Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite horror franchise. Halloween's my favorite horror franchise. Friday the 13th. Like, of course it is. Like, of course you pick one of the big fucking, like, 5 as your fucking favorite
I actually
franchise.
find it extremely interesting when people say Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street, because most of the time it's Halloween or Friday. You rarely hear Nightmare on Elm Street. I know
Yeah.
your co-host, that's his favorite, and Moodz, my co-host, that's his favorite. So those are the only 2 people that I know really that I could think of that is their favorite franchise.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Do you think of JP Comes at Night? I mean, It Comes at Night in the same way that Dave thinks about The Witch. Are you so in love with It Comes at Night that that is your version of Dave's The Witch?
I mean, I would probably say yeah, and actually the first person I thought of when I said that I was going to have to defend this film all year, or push this film all year, was Dave, because I felt like he was really the guy that was pushing The Witch last year. And I remember that when I seen The Witch, I gave it like a 7.5 at first. And then I rewatched it, and after listening to stuff that Dave said about it and like kind of seeing it from a different angle, and I raised my rating to 9.5. Like, I love The Witch. It's a great movie. So I do kind of think that makes sense for this to be my Witch, because I was blown the fuck away by this movie. And to me, it's like, it's not like, it's funny because like I've been doing this for a long time, dude. Like, it's not like I just hand out ratings, like high ratings easy. Like, I've been doing this since 2012. I've been making top 10 lists. In 2013, my number 1 horror film of 2013 was Maniac, the remake, and I gave it a 9.5. And my second favorite movie was Lords of Salem, which I gave a 9. 2014, my favorite movie of the year was The Sacrament. I gave it a 9. 2015, my favorite movie of the year was A Landmine Goes Click. I gave it a 9.5. And then 2016, my favorite movie of the year was The Witch, and I gave it a 9.5. This is my favorite movie that I've seen in that time period.
Which, actually, he goes on to goes, as in you consider it the best horror movie of the millennium. If not, where would you place it in, like, your top 3? What are your top 3 movies of the millennium?
So, I have what is the millennium?
I'm guessing 2000 and on.
See, that's hard because I do love a lot of movies from 2000 and on. I think that my favorite movies are like, I really like the Devil's Rejects is one of my favorite movies from that time period. Like, I think I would give that a 10. Let the Right One In is another really big one. So I would say that it's probably around that area, but I couldn't be for certain because I would have to see the list in front of me and really look at it. But there's not a ton of movies I would give a 10. I'll tell you that.
Gotcha. So, completely off topic and nowhere near as good. Your boy Jeremy just apparently he posted something in 22 Shots group 3 hours ago, which I didn't see because as soon as I got home from work, I jumped on here to record with you. And
Yes.
he just now, and he didn't tag me. He posted it. He didn't tag me. Apparently, it's a diss to me. It's a video. I'm not going to watch
he's
it
a
right
pussy.
now. Yeah. So 2 hours ago, he apparently also, after a few people comment and laugh, so apparently he did something good for once in his life. I'm sure his mother's proud. He says, fuck you, Jerry, in all caps. Not surprising that Jeremy is saying anything in all caps. And just now, keep in mind, 3 hours ago he posted it. 2 hours ago he said, fuck you, Jerry, and rejoicing because I hadn't responded. Now he tags me in it. 3 fucking hours later and goes, I love how Jerry Herring can dish it, but once I fucking get him, he doesn't said a word. As Moodz says, shaking penis. First of all, Jeremy, I'm not going to watch the video right now, okay? But I will say this. I was actually interviewing one of the two people that kept your show afloat and has made it the fucking icon that it is as one of the greatest horror podcasts out there. What I was doing was going deeper into the psyche of JP Shot, a legend, something you will never be, because JP can review a movie and have comebacks and actually throw down in a conversation without screaming and without using, he uses more than just 2 fucking catchphrases. So, Jeremy, since you think you're so big and so ballsy that you tagged me 3 hours after posting it, and the only reason I haven't seen it is because I was at work making money to come home and record with, someone who's actually important, unlike you. Yeah, act all big and bad, but you know what? I can get vulgar too. You're a dried up, dick licking, cum guzzling son of a fuckface cocker spaniel. So, when this comes out in the next day or two, because this is Saturday night, I hope you find this, and I hope it brings you joy.
Dude, you know what's funny? I watched that video and didn't even get it. So I don't.
What all I see is it's David Spade. You know what? I'm gonna watch it. Hold on. What is it? How long is this? It's 19
only a couple
seconds.
Children, it's a falling star. Make a wish. Yes, that's right. You make a Hollywood minute omelet, you break some eggs. Don't write the letters. Get the job.
Okay.
Did you get that at all? I didn't even get it.
Time out. First of all, it's David Spade from SNL making fun of someone. I don't know who he was really making fun of, but he put a picture of me and my cat. Okay? First of all, my cat will fuck you up, son. Okay? My cat don't play your shit.
Jeremy would admit that. He would admit that anybody would fuck him up.
Yeah. Second of all, in there, the 2 things that I noticed David Spade says is, oh, look, a falling star. Okay, first of all, I'm not a star yet. I'm working my way to become a top host in Horrorphilia. I'm out here putting in work while you don't have to put in work because you get to ride the coattails of your 2 way better co-hosts. Okay? Way better. I mean, leaps and bounds. And not just that, but they have better YouTube channels that are way more interesting. They're way more diverse as people in general. You fake liking criteria on movies so you can seem like you're fucking more artistic and important. Ain't no one believing that shit. No one for a fucking second believes that shit.
Oh man, this is funny.
Okay, so I'm not a falling star because I haven't become a star yet. So you're a little premature. But that's okay. Your mom says you've been like that your whole life.
A falling star is better than it never was a star, right?
That's true, but I mean, he's premature on this, and most of his women in her life will agree that he does that a lot. Second off, it says in there, you gotta break an omelet, blah blah blah. What was that other fucking thing he said? Hold on, what did it say? Okay, no one gives a shit. What was the other thing? I'm leaving all this in. I don't give a fuck. Oh, don't write the letters if you can't take the jokes. Literally, you take shots at JP and Moodz, and every single time, every joyful, blistering, wonderful moment, they respond and shut you the fuck down. Every single time.
A lot, man.
Every single fucking time, they shut you down. Okay? So, and they actually, literally, in the show y'all just put out, Urban Legends Trilogy, JP says to you, you can't take it. You throw shit out there and you can't take it when it comes back at you. So, you literally stole a joke that was used against you. And I'm pretty sure that he saw this video and was like, oh, JP said that about me. If it worked for JP, I'm going to say that shit to Jerry. Bam, bitch. It didn't work. Dude, Okay, that was not creative. I literally I can edit that video and I'm a terrible editor. I didn't have to go to college for that. Okay? Okay? And I actually I've put 2 videos out. 2 videos. And destroyed you each time. So much so that I got Neil I didn't even ask Neil. Okay? Neil just jumped on board because he was like, damn, Jerry's having a good time. I'm assuming this. I don't know why Neil actually did it, but damn, Jerry's having a good time. I want in on this, okay? And the first video was just me explaining why you weren't on there, because when I left the review, you weren't on the fucking show. You weren't there. I don't know why you left in the first place. I don't know if it was scheduling because you were in college. They stopped selling tampons where you are. I don't fucking know. What was going on there. And I'm not gonna ask JP. I was going to ask JP on this show why you were not on for a long time, but I thought, well, maybe they're not open about it. Maybe it could be something I don't know, and I did not ask JP ahead of time if it was okay to ask that, so I'm not going to. But what comeback have you given me that was creative? Because my second video was a diss rap to you. It wasn't long. It wasn't fantastic. I fucking hate writing raps. I like to freestyle, but I actually sat down and I freestyled some shit and I wrote it down and I tweaked it and a little bit to make it flow a little better and work it. And I put a diss rap out video to you. So much so that JP messaged me and was like, dude, it is so hard. And JP will, I know he'll say that he did this. He messaged me and was like, dude, it is so hard not to throw a diss track at you right now, because I see a diss track, I want in. I am all about this. I want in. And I won't say what he said after that, Jeremy, because I don't want to hurt your feelings as to why I said something and he was like, yeah, that's pretty much why I don't want to do it. And trust me,
because I'll say I didn't want to defend Jeremy.
Yeah, he didn't want to defend you because there's nothing to fucking defend. Because I have no idea how good JP is at rapping. I don't. But it won't matter because I have way more ammo at my hands than with you, Jeremy, than he has on me. And trust me, the shit I've said on Married with Children, he's got ammo. There's shit that there's a whole jail anal sex thing that happened on Married with Children that never came out. And he's got tons of ammo he can use. And even that was not enough. Not enough for him to try to take a shot at me, because then I'd have to call him out for defending you. So Jeremy, I can't believe we're ending the episode this way. So I'm going to end it on a much better note. So fuck Jeremy. No one gives a shit. I'm Jerry. I am #1 in the Hall of Fuckery. Is it Fuckers? Hall of Fuckers?
Hall of Fuckers.
Hall of Fuckers. I was the first one in the Hall of Fuckers. And
you essentially created it. I spawned. Well, someone had to create it because even if he does have a good idea, someone else has to make it better. Like the Hall of Shame in Moodz. He had to take that idea and make it better for it to work. like this motherfucker's gonna try to come at me? Son, I beefed with Dan fucking Chase, a goddamn legend in the podcast area, and he could hold his own. If you've never seen the meme wars between me and him, ask Watson. Ask fucking Watson how me and Dan do it. You ain't fucking on my level, son. You ain't on my fucking level, okay? My beef with you was so fucking disappointing. Me and Dan stopped beefing because we it wasn't fun anymore. You ruined it. Listen, I liken this to, first of all, this is very similar to if anybody out there has ever had a little brother or sister and they get into a fight and you're like, you want to jump in and help them out, but you're like, they got to handle their business on themselves. You know what I mean? And you're just seeing them get mollywopped by a bigger, tougher, stronger, smarter kid.
Did you just say mollywop?
And you just got to stand back and let it happen. And then when they walk away, you put their arm around them and be like, see what happens, bud? You see what happens? That's what this is.
Yeah, I think Jeremy thought, because he's on 22 shots of Moodz and Horror, one of the biggest shows on the network, top 3 on the Horrorphilia network, regardless of how it switches out. Of the 3 shows that constantly are in top 5, Skeleton Crew, Exploding Heads, and 22 Shots. They all three are constantly interchanging. And as top three, just because Moodz and JP get you there doesn't mean you can jump on me, the newcomer to the Horrorphilia network. Like, I don't have, I'm just going to be an easy, you're going to get laughs at my expense. Because goddamn, that backfired. Okay? Literally, you got nothing, son. Nothing. You might as well just stop now before it gets worse. But, okay. You made it to the end of the show. We got a little derailed, which it's Kill the Cast. We go off on tangents. That happens. That is 100%. Our last show with Puppet Master, there was talks about suicide and hookers, which I'm sure is how Jeremy's going to end. So, you made it to the end. You survived all the questions, my questions, the other questions. But before you can get out of here, you actually have to answer my Friday the 13th questions, which I did ask. These actually came from when I made these up on the spot when I was talking to Alex. And they are, before you can end the show by telling us where we can find you at and pimp yourself out all over the place, you got to answer these questions. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Friday the 13th, part 3. Oh, no, sorry. We got to do Friday the 13th, part 2 first. Friday the 13th, part 2. Was it rat piss or not? Was it the main chick or was it rat piss?
It was rat piss.
Okay.
It was rat piss.
Okay. Friday the 13th, part 3. Did Jason rape Chris?
I know this is controversial. And I know that a lot of Friday the 13th fans want to say no because they love their boy Jason. But in the context of that film, yes.
Okay. In Friday the 13th, part 4, did Jason throw the dog out of the window or did the dog commit suicide?
I've answered this before. I think that I said that he jumped out of the window.
Okay. And the bonus question, are you a dead fuck?
What does the computer say?
Let me check. I better not just start banging on my keyboard before I fuck up this entire recording. The program says you are not a dead fuck. That
I didn't think so. Here's a little bit of trivia for you, and this is another exclusive, all right?
Okay.
I actually lost my virginity while watching Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 on VHS in the room with my best friend in the same bed as me. How fucked up is that?
That is boss ass shit because I've got stories that are very similar. I've realized tonight over talking with JP, putting a lot of things together, we had some very similar life experiences. And that's a good one. And speaking of which, I want to ask you a question. And because I'm pretty sure... Oh, wait, no, I did. I brought this up on Married with Children. I don't think you answered it, though. And I'm not sure if it's going to end up in the episode. So, I think it wasn't... I don't know. On Married with Children, did I bring up the first time I got a blowjob in a movie theater?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, okay. Okay. Guess what movie, horror movie, I went to go see, and it was the first time I got a blowjob inside a movie theater. Not my first blowjob, but my first time getting action more than just making out and touching some boobs. In a theater, I got a blowjob. Guess what movie?
Okay. So, how old were you?
Fuck, man, I don't know. I could probably, if I give you the year, would that help you out better?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull it up, right now. I know I spelled that wrong. It was 2002. I was in, what was I was in 7th grade, I think. That was Jacksonville, Florida, right? I think I was in 7th grade.
All right, I'm gonna have to
7th or
say.
8th.
I'm gonna say Ghost Ship.
No, the movie has a 3.3 rating, though. IMDb, it was fear.com.
Oh, that was gonna be my second guess.
Ah, shit. You were really fucking close. Fear.com. That was
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I know 2002 very well. We did a podcast on that year, and I was trying to think. It might have been like a PG-13 horror movie, but it turns out Fear.com's R. And I couldn't, but that was kind of where I was going with it. But
No,
all right.
I had a theater that really didn't give a shit. So I looked out there. It was Jacksonville, Florida. Who gives a shit in Jacksonville, Florida? Have you been there?
I still haven't got my first blowjob in the theater yet.
Oh, fuck it. God damn it. We need to make this happen. Carly, not you, Carly. You obviously have dignity and self-respect. You gotta know some slutty friends though, right? Hook JP up. Let's get him a hooker. I'll go in with you, Carly. Oh,
Yeah.
Let's get him to where he gets blowjobs in theaters, so he can't count those movies towards his list because he technically didn't pay enough attention to the movies, so he loses the challenge and can't take away your
listen.
microwave.
When I lost my virginity to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, by the way, I restarted it just so you guys fucking know this.
Okay, hold on. Right after you finished clean up.
Didn't finish. Movie ended. I was like, hold on, we gotta rewind this thing.
Whoa, hold up. Time's out. You lost your virginity, and you lasted longer than 5 minutes for your first time fucking?
Yes, and it was because I was drinking, and also,
okay.
Not to brag, but I've always had a problem with that. I cannot finish easy. I have to really be into it. And I was watching Elm Street 4. So I was watching the movie while I was doing it. And that is what kept me, like, people think baseball. No, you just got to watch Elm Street 4.
Yeah, you just got to watch a disappointing movie. That way you don't disappoint your lady because there's a disappointment movie on. You learned it here.
Listen, I remember to this day, I was like, after we were done, and I was watching, I really liked watching Elm Street 4 or something. Like, she was like, don't ever say that to a girl afterwards. It was something along those lines, but it was really funny because I legitimately, like, that was the first time I did it. Going into it, I was like, I knew that it was like, okay, everybody says you always like finish really fast. Like, I gotta not do that. So I was like, how can I do this? And I was like, I'll put in a movie that I like, and then I'll just try to watch that, like, while, you know, like, she was on top for like a good majority of the time, and then like the doggy, and like it was, I was watching and I was listening, you know, and I was trying to focus because I had literally seen Elm Street 4 hundreds of times, so I know every line in that movie, and I would just listen and watch the movie in my head too when I wasn't facing the TV. It was a brilliant plan and it worked.
That is genius. Okay, got sex tips from JP right there. He obviously is not a dead fuck at all. He's a fucking pimp right there. I gotta say, that's some fucking pimp game shit.
It's a true story. I swear to God.
and he is right on the, like, guys, when we first have sex, we are so worried we're gonna bust fast. If you ever want to know what it's like for a guy for the first time they have sex, there's a song by J. Cole called "Wet Dreams." Listen to that song because it is so fucking accurate. It's not even funny. It is such a good song. So,
all right.
With that, you passed the test. You made it to the end. You conquered this interview.
Listen, not only did I pass the test, but I actually took your show over because from what I understand, you're a guy that likes your podcasts under 2 hours. And guess what?
We are sitting at 2 hours and 26 minutes. So yeah, this is going to be a 2.5 hour long podcast.
And I did that to you
because
I have to bring 22 shots with me.
As I say, most of our podcasts do not make it past like 2 hours and 5 minutes at the most. Two of them have. Last House on the Left and Horror Coliseum. Those went longer. Psycho 3 was still under 2 hours. Me and Kenneth went hardcore deep into that.
What's your longest
movie.
episode?
Last House on the Left. That one's like almost 3 hours long.
Woo.
Yeah.
Watson.
Yeah, Watson. But honestly, like, fucking we said some shit in that I don't think anyone has ever said about Last House on the Left. I
want you to listen to my. I can't remember my review. It might not be as good as I remember, but check it out.
Do you remember what episode it was?
It's our Wes Craven director's spotlight.
Okay.
It was like right after he died.
I'm going to download it. I'm gonna try to remember to download it tonight so I can listen. It'll be I will stop the Urban Legend trilogy episode, go listen to this one, and then go back to the Urban Legend one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what
and hear
episode it is really quickly. It is episode 57.
57. I'm on. Where's my 22 shots fucking subscription thing? I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so pimp yourself out. You say whatever the fuck you want. Tell people where to find you. Whatever information you want to give out.
Yeah. Okay, so you can find me closest on Facebook. Like, you can friend me, like, the JP Shot account if you want. YouTube is something that I've been doing since, like, 2012, and I do it off and on, but I love it. So I'll continue to do that. I don't take it super seriously like like some people, but I love to do it. That's Double Shot J. That's DOUBLESHOT, the letter J. And also Twitter, 22 Shots Podcast, or Double Shot JP. Some asshole took Double Shot J. And then also Netflix and Chill Horror Podcast. Like, I really want to start pushing that because I honestly think that show is really funny, and I don't think a lot of people have actually listened to it. So if you haven't heard it, give it a shot. And plus, it has a girl. She'll show you her boobs, I swear. Just message her. And then also, you can check out the Married with Children podcast with Jerry. Also, Horrorphilia.com, 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror.com. And subscribe to us and rate us, review us on iTunes. I have a lot of links, dude. There's plenty more, but I don't remember them all. But if you're listening in the 22 Shots feed, which I know you are, go ahead and check out Kill the Cast. I've listened to 2 episodes, and they're only mildly retarded, but still fun.
But to be fair, he's listening to the earlier stuff. When he gets to the more current stuff, or if this is your first time and you want to listen to Kill the Cast, I recommend the Best of the 80s show. That was fantastic. Or if you want something a bit more serious, Horror Coliseum, Alien vs. The Thing for the greatest sci-fi horror movie ever. Those 2 are fantastic.
The Thing better have won, right?
Spoiler alert, it did. And also, what you said, episode 50 was the 22 Shot episode I should do? Because episode 50 is the most influential horror films.
57 is the Wes Craven Spotlight.
Okay, I'm trying to find it. My app's being all fucking weird. And dude, there's episode 56, 94, 75. Who fucking ordered these? What the fuck is this?
What the hell?
I don't know what's going on because...
What app are you using?
Podcast Addict.
That's what I use.
Yeah, and it's Sam. Like, the 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror has 1 episode, but when I look for a podcast,
that's weird.
So I'm just like, what the fuck? But here's the thing: in episodes, they're all there. They show every single one of them's there. Oh shit! Y'all did the Jaws franchise? Fuck that! I'm downloading that also. Because I haven't went super hardcore into your back catalog.
Yeah, they're long shows. I understand.
Yeah, and I like shorter shows. But y'all are good enough that I will 100% fuck with these long ass episodes. God damn it! Come on, 54.
I one time we counted up how many hours.
Oh Jesus!
It would take, like, how many total days of us talking there is, and it was crazy. And we did that like 40 episodes ago, so can't imagine what it is now.
Yeah, because I went through the entire back catalog of Skeleton Crew, and it took me months. Why? Yeah. Okay, it's not... Okay, I'm just gonna have to go download it off the fucking Horrorphilia website.
Alright. Cool.
That's what I'm gonna have to do. So that's it. I've got to go find this fucking episode. We're done. You've heard him pimped out. I don't know if I have all his links because I don't want to write a book, but I will have a bunch of links to his stuff in the description, obviously. So check all that out. You've heard where you can find him at. He is JP Shot, even though he doesn't like to be called that apparently, but now it's stuck in my head, of 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror. Please check out his show. We apologize for Jeremy, but you listen to Jeremy because then you get to listen to me and Neil make fun of him. And that's
and you get
it.
to hear us
Oh,
shut Jeremy down, and it's
great.
funny. It's funny when it happens.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna go post in that Facebook, and I'm gonna be like, my response will be in the interview with JP if you want it.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to come get it, or he wants to be like, oh, you couldn't respond, I don't care, because you listen to it. I'll make a fucking YouTube clip of this and put it in fucking 22 shots of what I just said if he wants to bitch. But anyway, it's been 2.5 hours with JP here, so we are done. Thank you for listening. Find us all on Horrorphilia, all the Kill the Cast nonsense you should already know, but if you don't, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/killthecast. We have a Facebook group, facebook.com/group/killthecast. Much like 22 Shots, you can do a horror pack with us. Much like 22 Shots, you can get shirts of Kill the Cast. There's all kind of cool shit. We're on Stitcher and iTunes, all that fucking great nonsense. We will see you next time here on Kill the Cast or 22 Shots, depending where you go. So show the 22 Shots people some love.
And show Kill the Cast some love.
And show Kill the Cast love, because we need it more. All right, later, guys.
Peace.